watching Clearfield TV, where thoughts matter.
Goofing off before the camera starts. Huh?
We are live here again with Clearfield.tv. Welcome, everyone. Hi, Dan. How was your week?
Good.
This
Steve,
week? Give me
good.
a handshake there,
doing
buddy.
pretty good, yeah.
I haven't seen you for like a week.
No, we were just talking before the
Yeah.
episode that we literally go live without preemptively doing things. So this is off the top of our head. We brought up some articles we're going to do today. We haven't really talked about them or listened to it. We actually got a special treat at the end of the video. We're going to, what do they call it when you watch something and you talk over it? You are critiquing it?
Yeah,
or?
we're gonna listen to a recording done by a local news source, and we're gonna give them a good shout out here towards the end of the program. But as the recording's playing, if they say something that piques our interest, we're going to pause it and talk about it a little bit. We think that might be interesting rather than, reading full articles and stuff like that. So each week we're going to try to mix it up a little bit.
I was just thinking one thing we should maybe start doing at the beginning is maybe give a synopsis of what we're going to do for the episode.
That would be a good idea, Dan.
People may not like the first topic, but they want to listen to the second and third one.
Absolutely.
So our topics for today, we're going to talk a little bit about daylight savings times. We just went through that. A little article about that. We're going to talk about the separation of church and state. Now, I know before you shut it off, that's a hot topic. But if you're watching Clearfield.tv, you should expect to get hot topics.
That's right.
Not like the store. I'm talking more like, hot button issues.
Yeah.
And we will get more controversial as time goes on. Our goal isn't to be controversial. We're just not afraid to be controversial.
Yeah. We want to talk about hard to talk about stuff.
Right. Well, because our
sense?
Thoughts matter. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Our thoughts matter.
And then, like you said at the end, we're going to go over the WOKW did an interview with Matt Redden, the head of...
Not Matt Redden.
No, I keep saying Matt Redden. I had a buddy in the Marine Corps. His name was Matt Redden. It's Rick Redden.
Yes.
He's in charge of domestic relations. And they did an interview on WOKW. And we literally listened to the first minute of it, and it was...
It's
just in the introduction was good enough for us to go, let's throw to today's episode, and so we'll get to that. So, Steve, do you have anything else you want to add in the beginning? Thank you to our sponsors, Biographics and DNA Cleaning Solutions for sponsoring today's episode. Obviously, nobody else has reached out to sponsor us yet because we haven't mentioned a third name. But if you own a local business or you're starting out, this would be a great platform.
Yeah. And we're
not talking thousands of dollars.
Yeah, we're building slowly building a good audience, and we're going to have some influence, I think, in the community as this builds. And so we want to bring sponsors along and help them build their business as well. So,
that's right.
Yeah, Biographics is my business. You can go to getingearmarketing.com, check out all the stuff there. Your website is?
DNA Cleaning Solutions is the name of the company, and cleanclearfieldcounty.com is our website. That's also our service area. So it works out well.
So let's get into it here, Dan. So
all right.
Let's talk about...
Daylight
savings time. Bring that up.
I actually didn't bring up the article.
Okay.
It was more just a talk.
Yeah, a couple of minutes.
So if you haven't read the news, well, before we get read the news, we just did last weekend. We lost an hour, right? We moved the clocks ahead. Spring forward.
Spring ahead. Yep.
Yeah, spring forward, fall backwards. And I know, I'll be honest, I've never felt this in my life. I don't know if it's because I had COVID over Christmas and they have long COVID or whatever, but I felt like jet lag. I was trashed for 2 days.
Really?
After
the
wife kept saying, the wife's like, oh, it's because of daylight savings. And it's like, for me, that's never been a thing.
Okay.
I'm also not the type of person to like I get up at 6:48 every morning because I have a kid that gets up at 7, so I get up a little earlier to use the restroom and stuff before he does. And so I get up at 6:48. But if I don't set an alarm, I'm sleeping until 9. Like, I don't have that clock.
You don't have an automatic internal
The Marine
clock.
Corps, it was like you're an always on and you're off when you aren't on. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't
just on or off.
Yeah, it was like you might need to work 48 hours or you might have 2 days off. And so I think they conditioned me in not having that clock. So, but I felt horrible, just very I don't know. So I don't know if that was the case, but I know a lot of people complain about the changing of clocks, and it
a lot
messes
of
with
people
their sleep
are like,
schedule.
why do we do that? It's just
and
no one
in the
really knows the
wintertime-
history of it.
And like in the wintertime, it starts getting dark here in central Pennsylvania, like 5, 6 o'clock.
Or earlier.
Or early, yeah. And it's like, so anyways, the topic I wanted to talk about was that it just passed the Senate. It was unanimously voted to keep us in daylight savings time. So right now where we're at with that hour ahead is where they would keep us, and then come next year we wouldn't change our clocks back.
That's what they're talking about, and it passed in the Senate. You said
Right, passed the
They're
Senate,
trying
now
to
it has to
make
go
it-
to the House.
Yep.
There really isn't too much objection to it, so I feel like it's going to pass. So this might be our very last daylight savings that we do.
Yeah, so we should have a celebration maybe.
Yeah, House, and then it
Unless
it
you
goes
unless
to
you
our
like
president.
daylight savings time, unless you want to turn your clocks back again in the fall, then you're not gonna be happy.
I dread it. I dread like.
You know what would be funny if people would leave comments down below and tell us why they like daylight savings time
Or why they
and
don't.
why they don't like it.
You know one thing.
Let's start an argument
I just started arguing.
because it's such a big
Where
deal.
thoughts matter, I'm just going to argue about them.
Yeah.
But one thing I just realized for my own, I don't have a normal hourly clock, but I definitely have a seasonal clock. And daylight savings was always like, it's now springtime
That's true.
because we moved the clock. Oh, it's now winter because we moved
Yeah,
the
it's
or
almost
fall.
like a signal that's like, okay, we need to change.
Yeah, I didn't go by like the first day of spring or whatever it was. It was like
I
change
never
the
know.
clock.
Yeah,
now
that's
it's
true. I
spring.
never really thought about it. I don't know what the
So
first day of spring is.
Yeah,
I never
next
paid
year I'll
attention.
be like, well, are we even in spring yet? It's 94 out.
Yeah, are we going to do summer again?
Yeah. So I tell you, the older I get, I used to love snow. The older I get, I hate winter and cold weather.
Oh, yeah,
I
I
do
don't
have a funny story about daylight savings. I was
Okay.
telling him, I'm paraphrasing the article, so I may not have the 100% details right, but you'll get the gist of it. But I was reading an article. It was like a counter article. I always try to read pro and con articles with
Okay,
topics,
yep.
so I get both sides. Now, daylight savings, I don't really know if there was another side, but there was definitely a negative article about how some people don't like it. And apparently, they did this back in the 1970s.
Okay.
They left us in daylight savings time, and they tested it out. But I think it was like in one state or in an area.
Just
It wasn't
kind
the
of
whole United
okay.
States.
Yeah,
Now that
'cause
I'm thinking
I
about
don't
it.
remember hearing about that at all.
But so in the article, it was talking about how parents were like, well, it's going to be dark when my kids get up in the middle of winter and go to school. And, there's going to be more accidents and it's
they're
dangerous.
waiting for the bus in the dark and all that stuff. Yeah.
So the National Transportation Advisor or whoever, I think it's the Pete Buttigieg of it's the 1970s.
Whoever that person
Whoever
was.
that guy was. But apparently he was a piece of work, just like the current one. And
We both twitched. We're like, oh, really?
don't cancel us yet. It's only our 4th episode. But he came out and he said, while I do share your concern that there might be more accidents in the morning time frame because of the lack of daylight, we feel like there would be less automobile incidences in the evening when there's more daylight because there's more people out, and by that time most people have about 2 drinks in them. That was in this national article
That actually
from
came from-
1970.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, that was acceptable.
That was
back
before
then.
drinking and driving
Yeah,
was a
I
no-no.
guess. It's like, well, people are already half loaded from work.
Yeah,
It's
so
like,
we want to give them more light at the end of the day
more
so
light.
they can
They're safer
see
drivers.
on their way
It
home.
has nothing to do with the impaired alcohol and vision.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things.
That's how our culture has changed quite a
It
bit.
has changed.
in that amount of time.
I used to love it in school when they'd bring in the beer goggles.
Yeah.
And you'd put them on, and and they would. This is what drunk people look like. And then whenever I got older and started partying, and I got drunk, I was like, it was nothing like that whatsoever.
Not even
Not
close.
even close. It's definitely an equilibrium thing, not a vision thing. But anyways, so that was our topic. That was our fun topic for today.
Yeah, just old daylight savings time. I'll kind of miss it. We've done that our whole lives, and now we're not going to do that.
Well,
so.
it's a time of the change. Hey, I got another little thing if you want, if I can tangent.
Okay.
A Dan rant. Can we go into
Yeah,
a
we
Dan
can
rant
try to
this
throw
early?
one of them in there. Yeah,
It's
sure.
not really a rant. It's more of an exciting thing.
Okay, good.
I don't know if anybody's ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Elon Musk,
I
but
don't-
he did an interview this past 2 days ago, and he is, and this when he says that he plans to do something, I've come to realize you can pretty much take him at his word. He might be a year late, but he'll do it.
He already
Like,
has things in process.
He's been
when
doing it
comes-
for
gets to
you
that
know.
point. Yeah.
So he has a boring company, which I think is hilarious. The name of his,
It's a boring
it's a
company.
drilling
It's just
company,
boring, yeah.
and it's boring as a whole, and I love it. And he plays off of that. But anyways, he had an article where he is planning a manned mission to Mars in the year 2029.
Oh my goodness.
7 years.
Wow.
And he says we can do it. But now here's conspiracy. So we're doing Dan rant into conspiracy rant.
Oh wow.
If you look at all these
We're
politicians,
getting a double whammy here
yeah,
today in our
if
fourth episode.
If you look at all these politicians, and I'm not saying I fully believe this, I'm just saying it's out there.
It's there.
Yeah. So a lot of politicians. I always forget the lady. She's from New York. I don't know. I think she's a representative. I don't know.
Cortez and Alexandria.
Alexandria, she has said it.
Whatever,
Pete
Cortez.
Buttigieg has said it. A lot of Bill Gates has said it. The crazy German girl. How dare you? What's her?
Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg. These are going to like hit us because we're saying all these
Oh
people's
yeah.
names.
Yeah,
But
all these red flags are going to pop
they've
up.
all said like whenever William Shatner, when he came down, because he went up in space, and when he came down, and in his interview, he said they've all mentioned how 2030, the world's going to be, we're going to be done as a world. The world's ending by 2030.
According to all those
If you
people.
watch these, they've had clips where they've said it in speeches, and they said, it's like, we're going to lose our population, the climate change is going to, might be a different topic, but 2030, Agenda 2030.
Seems to be
there's
the-
an
that seems
UN
to be the
Agenda
deadline. All right.
2030, and so it's like, so is it coincidence that the only person in the whole entire world that could possibly put a person on Mars to relocate us, right, says, oh, we're going to do it in 2029? The year before,
Right
all
before
these other
2030.
people say 2030 is the end of the world.
Oh.
But so was 2000.
I think that's Elon just trolling everybody.
And I feel like he could be.
Because he just
But-
has. I call him Elon because we're on first name basis.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know his son's name?
Oh, it's like
Question mark, color,
Yeah, it's
blue
like
or something? I don't know.
it's like a series of numbers. And, yeah.
He actually, this first name, the first time he did it, he couldn't actually do it because they didn't allow special characters and names in wherever he was born, the city that he was born in. They said, you can't have that name because we aren't allowed special characters.
Oh my goodness.
It's not a password.
It's like
Elon.
putting a password.
Yeah, it's not a
in your-
password.
your
Hey
email
guys,
password.
I bet if you hack Elon, that's his password for
Yeah.
everything. It's probably his son's name. But back to the conspiracy side of things.
That is so weird.
So now we jump from Elon Musk, manned mission to Mars, 2029 to 2030 agenda to now. When you picture Mars, all the pictures you've seen of Mars, what
The red
color
planet.
is it?
Red.
What color are there clouds?
I don't think.
Is
so.
there a sky?
There has to be a sky.
But what do you see? Like when you've seen all the pictures in your head, red, just all red.
Yeah, just red. Yeah.
Look up
Whether that's the dust or
the
the chemicals.
Israeli mission to Mars.
Okay.
They put a rover or something, not like a driving vehicle. They put like a picture. I think it was a rover, but they put it on something on Mars to take pictures of Mars. And
Israel
did. Israel did, yeah.
Oh, I hadn't
I'm
heard
pretty
that.
sure it was Israel. I'd have to Google it. Like I
Yeah.
said, I kind of conflate things, so people fact check me if you could.
Yeah.
I'll try to bring it up while I'm talking. But so they did it, and give me 1 second because I went to Curvensville and I don't always know how to spell.
He is bad at typing. Really bad.
And
Well,
then
it's 'cause-
then I'm doing it from 8 feet away.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
every time you're typing, you're always looking somewhere else instead of the keyboard. So.
Oh, and
Okay.
obviously, I'd have to do more.
So what are you trying to look up? The Israel.
I think it was Israel, but anyways, so another country did it, and when they released this was years ago, like 5, 6, 7 years ago,
Okay.
and whenever they did it, they took pictures, and it looked like the Sahara Desert. I mean, it had a bluish sky. It was not. It was.
So it wasn't the typical looking.
Yeah, let me switch over here. Let me switch over screen so people can see what I'm looking up here. So, like, this is what when we think of, like, pictures of Mars,
Yeah, the red.
the
planet.
red,
It all
red
has a
planet
reddish
with no
tint.
sky. I don't know. I don't ever remember there being a sky in any of the pictures. But when, I think it was Israel, when they did it, it looked like this.
It just looks like somewhere out west.
Yeah, and it was very crazy how there was like the white sky and bluish colors and stuff.
That's
and,
probably computer rendering there.
Yeah, with
because
this
it
one.
wouldn't have a picture of itself.
But do your own research, guys, and look this up. I'm dead serious. And then whenever the media questioned, I'll go back to us, when the media questioned, like, whoa, why are these pictures so much different than what we're seeing? I mean, it wasn't like we found people,
Yeah.
but it was like, oh, different. It looked totally different. NASA came out and said, oh, with our lenses we use, we put a red filter on it so we can see better. I swear to God, that was their response.
Oh, jeez.
And it's like, whoa, you never told us you put a red filter on everything, and now it's not as red. So even if you look at the pictures that I just brought up, doesn't it look less red than what we remember seeing in our life?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, it looks more brown.
and then you can look up articles about how scientists are pretty sure, and they've done testing with our rovers, that a small portion of, I guess we'd call it the atmosphere of Mars, but like they believe it's possible that like with the first few inches of Mars, like after the dirt in some spots actually have oxygen and you can breathe.
Like in the airspace
And
between
yeah,
the
like
rocks.
no, like if you laid on the ground of Mars, there might be enough oxygen right there. Like where our
okay,
atmosphere goes
just-
up to whatever,
okay, gotcha,
2,000,
okay.
whatever. You know, you could breathe at 20,000 feet or whatever. I don't know how far you can go up on ours, but oxygen is filled in this space we're in right now.
So the oxygenated atmosphere on Mars is only a couple inches thick.
Yeah, they believe, and I don't know if it's good enough for humans
if
to
we go
breathe,
so
or
if we go to Mars,
there
we
is
have
some.
to all lay down.
You just lay down. Yeah, but it's a start if you think about it. Like if
it's
there's
there,
some,
if it's there, yeah, then
can't we make more?
they should be able to harness it somehow. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, and FYI, look up like peace treaties in the 70s, and I think it's back in the 40s even, where there was multiple countries that did peace treaties that we aren't allowed to manipulate weather. People don't believe in manipulation of weather.
Oh, yeah.
We have peace treaties in governments
saying we're
saying
not allowed
we're not
to do
allowed
that.
to do it. We have
And yet it's being done.
the HARP technology over in Alaska. This is a big conspiracy theory.
I
one.
just posted about this last week.
Did
Whenever that freak snowstorm came through, and I'm like, this isn't right. Like,
Well,
this is
the
wrong.
HARP technology, the antenna array, publicly, it's for communication with long-distance underwater submarines,
Okay.
and to test our atmosphere and shoot radiation to our atmosphere. But if you look up the patent of HARP, and you can look it up, U.S. patent website, us.gov, it's like pat.gov or something like that. Part of its patent is weather manipulation.
All right. So,
Just saying. Just saying. This is my conspiracy. You got me off on a tangent. I'm
Yeah,
done.
we-
This is supposed to be a small,
Yeah.
Small thing, and it wasn't.
yeah,
So,
how did we get there from
if you
daylight
guys,
savings time?
if you
I don't know.
guys like that stuff, because the manned mission, I got it. We didn't do daylight savings. I talked about the manned mission to Mars in 2029. I find it so amazing. I watch every single one. I'm not like an Elon Musk fan. I don't know which way to go with him. I don't know if he's a good person.
yeah, I don't know,
if
yeah.
he's a bad person.
If he's the
Yeah, I don't understand, so I'm not leaning on him either way, but I think his cars are pretty cool. I think he's done some pretty amazing stuff coming from South Africa and coming from pretty much nothing, and doing what he does.
He's definitely a smart
He
guy.
lives in a tiny home on a Tesla property. His wife has come out. I think they're divorced now, but she's come out she says that he lives below the poverty line pretty regularly. Like he gives all his money to the company and just keeps putting, like his life is his company's.
That's it, yeah.
And he doesn't care about lavish houses, and so that's a good thing. Or he's a nutbag, like
Yeah.
the guy that used to lock himself, the old school billionaire that locked himself in his house.
Oh,
and
that was yeah.
everybody compares him to people. You know what I'm talking about.
Hughes.
Howard Hughes, yeah.
Yeah,
Like, maybe he's our generation's Howard Hughes.
Yeah, he
but
just kind of went a little loopy, but he's a genius.
he is. He's smart. But anyways, guys, okay, so there was daylight savings, man mission to Mars, Dan rant. We got that out of the way.
All right.
So let's move into our original main topic for today. Do you want to start with it?
Yeah, well, I was thinking throughout this past week, and I'd sent Dan a text message saying, hey, let's, what do you think about talking about this for the upcoming episode? And I wanted to talk about the separation of church and state, and is it okay or is it encouraged, or should people of faith, Christians especially, be encouraged to get involved with politics and government? And is it okay for people of faith to be involved, or should we just let it up to the knuckleheads that do it?
I think after that sentence, I think I know your opinion there. What do you think?
Well, I I personally think that one of the reasons why our government and why our country has gotten to the bad place that it is because not enough people of faith and good people have gotten involved in government. And so all the, just for lack of better terms, all the bad people that want to be in positions of power, that's what they gravitate towards. So they get, so they get into these positions of control and power, and they don't have necessarily a moral compass to, guide and direct them.
Yeah,
Personally,
their moral compass leans.
Yeah.
There is no higher calling. And that's one thing, not to interrupt, but one thing that always bothers me, especially with the Christian faith, and I'll go on to my opinion about the original topic here in a second, but so we can look back in history and go, yes, there have been some very negative things that Christians have done in history. But currently, a normal Christian faith, not a crazy cult that has manipulated the Bible and manipulated everything. Just like any religion, there are crazies that manipulate it for their own self. But we're talking the general, normal Christian faith, normal Christian Bible.
Mainstream Christianity.
What, if anything, can anybody point out that would be negative or wrong or bad? Unlike the Quran, where it openly calls for violence. Before anybody checks me on that, I've read the Quran. I lived in Iraq and Afghanistan for 2.5 years.
You kind of have to know what their culture is,
and it's not. And there are good Islamic people, and there are good. A lot of people go Arabic, but it's like Arabic's a language and a country. But anyways, so it's the Islam faith. There are good, but even in their good faith, there is calls to wipe out the infidel, for multiple wives, for things that are not.
Yeah, their cultural dictates are way different than what our Western culture dictates.
It doesn't. These ideas do not influence healthy and good. So think of having multiple wives. Anybody that's married would realize that's not healthy and good. Like, in no point of the picture would that be healthy or good. There's going to be issues. Now, could it be awesome? Could it be neat? Could there be benefits? Could there be, maybe you could get a bigger house and have more kids and take care? Okay, there could be benefits. But in reality,
does it outweigh the?
I guarantee it doesn't.
The emotional.
But imagine
stuff.
a single marriage, between a husband and a wife, in love as one person, as the Bible says. Now that is conducive to healthy, good things. Walk in love. Jesus said, my greatest commandment is love, to walk in love as I do. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. So all these things are conducive to healthy, good love, relationships.
Positive.
It's not go do this thing, go an eye for an eye, and and throw the first stone. And it's like, no, cast the first stone if you are sinless.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So if I'm a politician and my moral compass is love my neighbor as myself, throw the first stone if I am sinless, then I have a moral compass of good. Now, hopefully they follow it. Hopefully they don't get corrupted. And we're not saying that there aren't Christians in there right now, hint, hint, that say they're Christians but don't walk a Christian faith. And I'll be honest, here's a hot button topic. To go back to Mars, I'm not sure why, if we find bacteria on the surface of Mars, we call that a life. A life.
Yeah,
but we call a baby in a womb not.
Yeah.
And that really bothers me. And as Christians, there should be no question there.
Yeah.
It shouldn't even be an option.
So obvious.
Right.
But some people that don't have that worldview, that matches the Bible and matches mainstream Christianity, they're like, well. They don't think of abortion as murder. They think of it as convenience. They don't want.
Well, and they say, "Oh, it's freedom of choice." Well, guess what? Your choice doesn't matter. Yeah. Your choice was to have unprotected sex. Your choice was to do those things. And if you follow biblical principle, you shouldn't have relations until you're married. And
that solves a ton of problems just right there.
And now, and Dan, I guess you did that in your life. Absolutely not. I'm not the perfect person. I'm not calling any kettle black. I'm just sitting there saying, if we as Christians followed to the letter And if everybody was a Christian, it'd be the perfect world.
Things
It would
be a lot better.
It would
anyway.
be God's intended world for us.
yeah.
But so back to the original thing of how you were talking.
Yeah, should we get involved in politics and government because we're a Christian?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I look back. I didn't bring it up on the screen. Maybe I still have it open on my phone. As a Christian, I have scripture to back things. I did bring it up. It can be found in. I had it up.
It's Genesis chapter 1. I know you did.
Genesis chapter 1 and verse 28, it says, Then God blessed them. This is right after he created man and woman. And God blessed them, and God said to them, Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish, over the sea, over the birds in the air, and over every living thing that moves on earth. So for me, God has told us to take control of the earth, subdue it, and we have dominion over it. So as Christians, we have dominion. We have his will.
We have God's
to
blessing
run,
to take care of the things of the earth. Now, there's extremes to that as well.
course.
It's like you know, people look at the earth, the physical earth, as precious and holy, and we have to protect it at all costs. And then you get into the extreme environmentalist movement where everything is pure and you can't do anything because you're going to mess up the earth and cause.
Right. Oh, don't cut down this tree, even though you plant 10
so,
more. And
you don't want to get too extreme. But we do have dominion. God gave us dominion over the earth, over every bit of creation. So we have to be smart. We have to manage God's creation. That's why he put us here on earth. One of the reasons why. Manage God's creation. So part of that is all the creatures of the earth, the animals, and everything.
Yeah, and we haven't done good on some of those things.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's been bad.
But
I'm,
at the
I'm
same
sure
time,
God's
I think
upset about that.
God
too.
blesses us with the ability to, I don't want to say recover, but he gives us different paths to the same outcome. So while we may screw up this path, he still has this desire, his will over here of this outcome. So there is other paths. So we may have, killed off a species as humans, because of overfishing or overpopulation or whatever that could. And I do think we're learning as a country. And that's one thing why I'm looking at maybe running as a political individual, as an independent ticket. And I think it's probably better for me because I have a lot of ideas. Like, I don't hate the green movement. I don't hate electric cars. I don't hate climate change. But I feel like the only thing that is constant in this world is climate change. I think it's been happening forever. I don't think our carbon output at our current level changes that. I know some scientists says it does, but if you look at all the other ones, they say they don't. So it's I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
Yeah, the industrial.
But there was more carbon on the earth, according to studies, whenever the dinosaurs were alive, if dinosaurs even existed. That's another conspiracy theory. I love that one. If you're bored on a Friday night and you don't have anywhere to go tonight, look up the conspiracy theory of dinosaurs not existing.
Oh,
it'll
my.
make you think. No, I swear, it'll make you think. Like 90% of dinosaurs ever discovered were found by like 4 people, and they were caught in so many lies all this time, and like fabricating stuff and fake it. So there's a lot of crazy stuff around. Not that I believe it. Don't take everything I say like I believe it. I'm not a nutbag.
There are things out there.
But there is stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they just looked at it now, and there's a study going out right now that they think the T-Rex, so the iconic dinosaur we all know when we say it, may actually be 4 different dinosaurs, and they accidentally put them together.
Yeah, because a lot of the fossils.
It's like a one bone, and they built a dinosaur.
Yeah,
on
a lot of fossil beds that they found were just piles of fossilized bones, and they just kind of pick and choose. There's a few they may have found the majority of entire skeletons and stuff, but that's just smaller animals, not the great big
Right.
stuff. Yeah.
And it's crazy. And then this is what trips me out. These are the type of we can't get into this debate. This is like another episode. But as Christians,
we do need to write some kind of a bullet point list so we can stay on
we need a
topic.
person here that keeps us off of squirrel
Yeah.
moments is what it is. But as Christians, should we even believe in dinosaurs?
Believe in dinosaurs? Like trust in them? Like Jesus?
when were they around? Like, because
yeah.
by Christian faith, what are we, 5,000 years old as a world?
5 to 10,000.
Something like
years old,
that?
Yeah.
So
And
did dinosaurs
are
ever
supposed
exist?
to be millions of years ago?
I
so-
chalk it up to God's days weren't our days?
Yeah. Well,
I don't, because I don't know how to answer that one.
well, I've watched some videos, and
YouTube in it.
they talk about how the atmosphere and magnetic poles of the earth and all that kind of stuff was different, and that's why people of the Bible lived hundreds and hundreds of years. Atmospheric pressures were different, and magnetic.
See, I don't think the science had to do with the age. I think the age was just God.
Okay, then why did the ages drop to?
Because God said, we limit you to 120.
We're done. That was after the flood.
Yeah, that's what he said. After the flood, you don't deserve to it.
Yeah, because people were living too long and they were messing things up
Corrupting
way
up.
too
Yeah,
bad.
it's like, imagine us alive that long. We mess it up in 100 years.
So anyway.
That's my thing. And it's like, and I firmly believe.
And the carbon
possibility
dating
of it.
that they say, that's how they figured out
No.
how old
carbon
things are.
dating
But that's
has been
so
proven
debunked
flawed so many
times.
even
yeah.
the people that believe in carbon dating have changed the way it works and the time frames the way it works. It's one of them hard things because they're not actually dating the item. They're dating organic matter found by that item. And it's
and the rate of decay that is assumed.
I'll tell you, if
yeah.
my house collapses right now on a pile of rubble and they find it 1,000 years from now, they're going to find coins and bills from like 1800. Doesn't mean that I was alive in 1800.
Right.
Now, granted, that's like a 200-year window, but they're trying to do that with millions of years ago. Blows my mind. Like, there's no way that we as a species are smart enough. We can't not eat Tide Pods as a species, but we're supposed to believe people that say, I know what happened a million years ago.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
There's not that big of a difference in smartness.
even to know
I've
what-
met millions of people in my life. Millions. Maybe millions. That's a big number. But I've met a lot of people in my life, and I've never met somebody to where, like, they've shifted the balance of dumb people to smart people for me.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, we're all in that general
We're
range.
all
There's some
pretty
smart
much
ones.
the same.
But I've met special forces. I had Christmas dinner with Barack Obama. I swear to God, I'll show you a picture sometime. Normal person. Like, you think there are these. I've met celebrities. I've sat at a bar with Adam Sandler. I've met the Black Eyed Peas and drank with them before, back when I lived in Hawaii. So it's like all these people that you think would be smarter, they're more successful or whatever. I'll tell you, you know why successful people are successful?
What's that?
Because they're determined.
They're
They're
just
bullheaded and they don't
stick
give
to
up.
it and okay.
Yeah, and the ones, some fail and some succeed. But you ask that's what you do, because people start something, they give up in 2 years or 2 months or 2 weeks.
Or they get
And
bored
why
with it.
didn't I
It's-
succeed?
It's
And
not
it's
going
like,
the way they want it to go, so they just give up. Yeah.
I'm ran today.
So
buddy.
anyway,
I'm
but
so on
still,
topic.
that talks that even talks to as Christians. Okay, well, we need to separate what religious people or spiritual people from individual religions. Like, is it okay for a Muslim person to run for public office?
Sure.
And serve in community? Absolutely, yes.
Well, and that's one of my things.
So we're not saying only Christians should run. That's not what we're
as
getting
an
at.
independent person.
I know there's a lot of Christians that kind of back away from politics just because of they don't
Well,
want part of
it's
the drama. Or
confrontational.
it's too
I
confrontational,
don't.
or they feel
out
like
of
it's
love,
too
I'm not
worldly
pushing
or
my
whatever.
views onto you. I don't need to do. And it's not that you're pushing your views. You need to realize that if you have a moral compass and you know your moral compass is right, and you believe in our country, you need to stand up and protect it and fight for it. I have no problem.
We're going to speak the truth because we love our community and love the
Right.
people that we're around, and even the people that hate us, we love them.
So now, do you think
we
that
have
we should
to be a part of the?
have the 10 Commandments at like the courthouse steps?
Should we have them there? I can see how that would be offensive to non-Christian people to have and I can see that's where the separation of church and state thing comes around. People think that a government shouldn't promote a specific religion or a specific faith, and I understand that. I get that. Like, I would be upset if the courthouse had a book out of the Quran, posted in front of the courthouse. It's like, that doesn't represent me. Why is that there?
See now,
And I can understand why non-Christians would feel that way about the Ten Commandments. Me personally, I think it's great to have the Ten Commandments there because it's set in stone. Like, that's your
and
basic.
they're very good things.
Yeah, and-
there's nothing negative
and
on there.
almost-
Thou shalt not kill. Well,
Yeah,
that's
almost
a good
all
one.
of our laws of the land today are based off of the Ten
Well,
Commandments.
we are.
Right.
Some people will challenge this, but for the most part, we were and are a Christian-formed society. We were formed out of the ideals of Christianity back 1776 era. People now, you look at some of the people that were part of writing the Declaration of Independence and stuff, and they weren't Christians, and they were a little bit fringy on some
It's
things.
just like
but,
today,
but their
not-
values, like what they practiced, just like, oh, I was an atheist, but I also believe we shouldn't kill. I also believe that we should love. I believe those are Christian values. You know, when you start talking about multiple wives and infidels and stuff, okay, now those are Islamic values. You know, and you start talking about, you know, reincarnation, and okay, now those are Buddhist values. You know, so it's like we were built on the same, even though they may not have called themselves a Christian, what they practiced in day-to-day life
Yeah.
was Christian values.
Just general societal
Share with your
belief
neighbor,
systems
yeah.
were Christian based.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what we're built on.
And like you were saying, like as a Christian, I love the idea of, you know, praying before government and things, or maybe in school, or Ten Commandments or the courthouse steps, and I love that because I'm a Christian and I love my God, and I want Him to be public.
Yep.
But as
We're
American,
not ashamed of it. Yeah.
But as an American, I fully respect the idea that if the townspeople of our area had an issue with the Ten Commandments out in front of the courthouse steps, that it should be removed. Like I think there should be something when those were put in place. It's like, well, if a percentage, 5% of the population or whatever, I don't know what number would make me feel good or make people feel good. But if there's enough people that are upset about it, it should be removed because it is putting one religion in front of another.
If our country
Or added to.
is truly a democracy, like a lot of people think it is, which it's not.
No, it's a
true
republic.
democracy.
Yeah.
Then if more than 50% of the people want something a certain way, then it should go that way.
And something like that, I think it
Yeah.
should be a democracy.
Yeah.
But as a republic, we are a democracy with a code of law or a Declaration of Independence.
But what usually happens is, something that is generally considered acceptable, all of a sudden, one or two people start screaming about it because they're offended by it, they don't like it, and so then the rest of us have to do without whatever that is that's supposedly offensive. The Ten Commandments, for example, there's a very small percentage of people that don't want the Ten Commandments posted. So whoever's in charge at the time says, well, we don't want to hurt their feelings, so they take them down. While the rest of us have to. And just because the Ten Commandments aren't there doesn't mean that God's not there.
Right. But
So
we
we understand
as
that.
Christians,
We're not that.
feel like you're taking God away from it a little bit. That you are separating
Well,
God
it's just
from
that slippery slope.
It
It's like you
is.
take a little bit here and a little bit there, and next thing you know,
Well,
nobody knows who God is anymore. So
yeah, and that's I think the biggest issue with Christians is we feel through all the good stories, and I think it's almost, and I'm not speaking ill of like Sunday school by any means, but I think we teach Sunday school and kids there's a version of Christianity that is very weak. And I don't mean it to be mean, but we make it seem like through Jesus' love and God's love for us, we then assimilate with weakness. And that they were like,
it's like
they
we're supposed to just back off.
there's
if
many
someone
times in the Bible that
challenges
Jesus
that's
got up
not-
and said, "How dare you flipping tables?" He's like, "You should be," like he got
Oh yeah, I love that.
upset
about
at
him.
things, and it's like, and not that he was being mean, he was being assertive.
Yeah.
And there's a difference.
And he spoke the truth.
Yep.
And he stood up for what was right. So
I'm pretty sure there's scripture that actually talks about if you don't stand up, and I should have probably done my homework on this one, like it's negative to not stand up when like if God calls you to, like if you're in a town meeting and they're sitting there
if
talking
you
about,
know what you're supposed to do
you know,
and you
we
don't do
wanna-
it, that's just as bad as sinning outright.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're allowing it to happen. You're
You're
not
being complicit.
opening God up into the conversation.
Yep.
And so, and it's a very tough topic because it is hard to go, well, I'm a Christian and I want my Christian beliefs to be here, but I'm also an American and I understand the freedom of religion. So we were talking about separation of church and state. Do we want to look at this article real quick?
Yep, and I think a lot of people think that this idea is, written in the Constitution or whatever.
Well, I think it kind of is, but I think people are confused on what the separation of church and state means.
Right.
So the original, you were talking about Thomas Jefferson brought it up, and it was originally part of the, I forget what they're called, the letters that were before the Declaration of Independence. They call them something as a whole. It's like the works that they dig into to find out what the Declaration of Independence meant. It was part of those works. And then it turned into, let me switch over to this article. Yeah. So I'll read from over here. So the First Amendment says nothing about separation of church and state or a wall of separation between church and state. Where did the idea come from? Is it really a part of law? So I'll start from the beginning here. Let me get rid of my highlighted part. It says, although the word separation of church and state do not appear in the First Amendment, the Establishment Clause was intended to separate church from state. When the First Amendment was adopted in 1791, the Establishment Clause applied only to the federal government, prohibiting the federal government from any involvement in religion. And so that is where the separation of church and state comes from.
Because you got to think about when our country was established, they were trying to separate themselves from the monarchy in Great Britain, which was basically church and state were the same thing.
Same thing, yeah. A king and a queen, you know.
Yeah, and it was like they told you what you're supposed to believe religiously from the government, and that's what the first Americans were trying to separate away from. So that was, one of the first things that they wanted to be clear about was we don't want the government telling us that we have to believe a certain way.
Right.
And so, but
that's the separation.
Yeah.
Not church can't be in government.
Right.
Now, and I also believe, though, too, it's a very slippery slope. So I can see the other side of the argument. So a big, powerful church, I'm not going to name any names, but if there's a big, powerful church that is coming in, then...
And trying to set policy in government, that's...
You guys may have been thinking that I was talking about Catholics, and I wasn't. I was talking about Scientology, to be completely honest with you. I've been watching a documentary about Scientology. For some reason, Scientology, not as a religion, as a I want to say a word that probably wouldn't have been good for YouTube, as a corrupt organization with crazy leaders that drink Kool-Aid type of place, they amaze me. It amazes me how people, like, if you ever looked into it, you ever looked into their story, their book, like a science fiction writer.
Yeah, I do know the original story of it, like how
a story
out of a bet, basically,
about space and like a god that lives on another planet and like Zulu and weird names, like crazy made up stuff, and people believe this.
Yeah.
Like it's not even.
And
there's no science.
I think that the story I heard about that
mind.
particular religion was that science fiction writer was in a conversation with one of his buddies or something. This is the story I have in my head. I don't know if it's right or not, but it's what I heard. And he basically made a bet with him saying, I bet I could create a religion and get people to follow it. Basically saying how stupid people are and they'll believe anything. And that's kind of how Scientology got started, I think.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy.
I think that's
like,
what I heard.
And I don't mean to be mean. Anybody that's a Scientologist and whatever. Like if it helps you get through life and helps you be a better person, a better version of yourself. As an American, I don't care what you practice. And around, I just find it hard to believe that. I don't know. There's a lot of weird stuff with it. I don't believe we have any Scientologists watching. So if I offended you, I apologize. But I honestly don't care if I offended you or anybody else, because that's your opinion and I can't control your opinions. I can only control my own, and if I misspeak, I do apologize. That was not my intentions. But
there you go.
Leave me a comment, change my mind. Maybe I'm incorrect.
Scientology
my wife would
awesome.
tell me. My wife would tell me that that's probably true. You probably are incorrect, Dan. You are a lot of times. So back to this article.
Okay.
Got off on a topic here. This is why YouTube's going to cancel us. So it says by 1833, all states had a disestablished religion from government, providing protections for religious liberty in state constitutions, which, by the way, that's what we should be doing, is giving back to state rights, and the federal government should be there to protect us and to provide a currency and to rule or do rulings, judiciary, when the states can't come to an agreement. The federal government is way too much power.
Way too big, yeah.
In the 20th century, the U.S. Supreme Court applied the Establishment Clause to the states through the 14th Amendment. Today, the Establishment Clause prohibits all levels of government from either advancing or inhibiting religion. The Establishment Clause separates
Okay, that's interesting right there, from either advancing or inhibiting religion. So when a government comes in and says your kids can't pray in school, isn't that inhibiting religion?
No, because it's a public school and a public forum.
Yeah, but that's the government saying that they can't do something.
No, it can't be. First of all, it can't be set up specifically for your religion. So they can't have time put aside for you to pray.
That's school sanctioned or
Right.
school run.
Right.
I understand that.
What they should do, and I think it should just be a common thing, is just have a moment of silence and you can pray to whoever you want to pray to. That's the easy fix.
Well, I
God
guess,
forbid we come together as a society and unify and just
well,
go, a moment of silence.
I think what the people that are screaming about that is they don't want a teacher leading their classroom
Correct.
in prayer.
Right,
Okay.
and I totally
Right?
understand that.
Okay.
As a Christian,
But-
I would love that.
Okay, but students.
But as an American, I agree that it shouldn't happen.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want a Satanist teacher praying
But
satanic
they
ritual.
do that.
I know it happens. Yeah, that's what's frustrating. That's why we need to get more involved in their government, because it's being allowed to happen.
That was
Because
a creepy look I just gave.
yeah, because he's like, but that's why things like that are happening, because Christians aren't standing up,
Well-
and we're just like, why is our world falling apart? It's like
Because you're not standing up.
because we're
Because
not
you're
involved
protecting
enough.
it. You're not putting God in there.
Exactly.
So when God's taken out of a situation, and if you're not a Christian, hey, you may not agree with me, but when you take God out of a situation, it is left to the wolves.
Yeah, there's a void there when you take God out of it.
Well, God's all powerful. Couldn't God just step in? He gave us dominion over the earth. A lot of people get confused on how this works, how we as humans, God is we always, our church, we call him a perfect gentleman. So he's the perfect father that you could ever imagine. And he gave us dominion. He gave us free will. So unlike a parent that says, I want my child to have free will and make their own decisions, but then you correct them 30 seconds later for not doing
as
something
long as they
right.
do it this way.
Right, yeah. God's not like that. He gives you ultimate free will. And the only way God has the ability to work on this earth, and I'll show you scripture on this and challenge me on this if you like, is through us. Now,
God gives us the Holy Spirit
Yep.
to work through us, and it's up to us to listen and pay attention and follow.
God doesn't work through the squirrel on your front porch.
Right.
I'm sorry to say, okay? But so back to this. We're almost done with this article because we're already in. It's going to be a long episode, guys. Buckle in. All right. So today's Establishment Clause prohibits all levels of government from either advancing or inhibiting religion. I like this last sentence here. The Establishment Clause separates church from state, but not religion from politics or public life. Individual citizens are free to bring their religious convictions into the public arena. Love that. I love that because that is what true freedom, that's what America's built on, is that we can come together. And I'm sick and tired of people being so offended. Like, I always been struggled with this. Is like the idea, is it because we're so privileged as a society that we don't have hardships anymore? It's like, we didn't have the Great Depression, or we didn't have, to where we just
think
get
it's
offended.
all about us, so that whenever something doesn't go our way,
No, it's this one.
we think it's all about us. So as a society, we've made the individual person their own God, basically, is what
Right.
is happening. So whenever you come against, an individual person's belief or whatever, suddenly they're offended to the point where, they're like, "How dare you?" And they don't want to change, but they want everyone else to change, and that's where society's become. And
I'll be honest,
it's hard to battle
I
against.
kind of enjoy getting offended by stuff because it's like a difference of opinion. Like it intrigues me, like
Yeah.
not in a bad way. Like
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
if-
when you hear
if you
something,
say
you're just like-
something that's
it's like,
like,
why does
wait
that
a
make me
second,
feel
why
that?
does that? Yeah, I'm like, I have to figure this out. How did you trigger me to get a little bit worked up inside? I don't get mad at the person. I love countering. I have a cousin. Well, it's my wife's cousin, but I guess he's my cousin too. He's family, and he is a little bit different on politics than me. And me and him get together. We have some of the best conversations because he's mature and responsible enough not to, throw a coffee cup and walk out. And I am too. I guess mature's not probably the right word, but I've been trained enough not to yell. And I love those. I hate almost getting into long conversation with people I completely agree with. It's boring. It's
there's no challenge there.
Yeah, it's like nothing new.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. That's why, as like an independent individual, I agree with portions of a lot of things, and especially some of the crazy ideas, either from the left or right, both sides. Some of those crazy ones, I still see where they're coming from.
It's just interesting to think about those things.
Yeah, and I see where they're coming
and
from,
investigate 'em.
but then I also see where it's kind of gone off the rails. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always joke around with my pastor. It's like, imagine being in a church. I think anybody that's ever been to a church or is a Christian or anything. So imagine you're in a church and you've been in this church for a couple of months, a couple of years, whatever, and all of a sudden, for the first time, and this church is turning into like one of these crazy cult churches. And for the first time, they bring out snakes or Kool-Aid that we're all drinking or something. I wonder if anybody got up. Did anybody leave? Because I'll tell you, if that ever happened anywhere I was going, I'd be like, whoa, I'm out. See you guys. Or did people just sit there? The first time crazy stuff happened, the first time, was it Jim Jones that had he went, hey, I'm going to marry everybody's wives. The first time he said that.
Yeah.
Did everybody go okay?
Did somebody go,
wait a second.
Wait, yeah.
That's what intrigues me. Not that I agree with any of that crazy stuff, but it's like, I would love to have been there.
How do people get to the point where they accept that?
Right. Total
that's
craziness.
okay.
Or like, look at like suicide, bombers in different countries and stuff. When that idea first came up, the first time that was mentioned, you went okay? I don't know. I was a Marine though, so maybe I was brainwashed into doing their deeds, I guess. I don't know. It's like, but I believed in my country, so I don't know. I'm off topic.
But the point of all that is underlying all those ideas and thoughts and all those investigations and all those different things that we like to think about, underlying all of that is our basic faith in God, the God of the Bible, in Christianity. And so that's what's important in all that. It's like we have a base, we have a starting point at least that we can compare all these other things that we're looking at to and seeing if it's right or wrong based on what the Bible says. And that's where we're coming from, and that's why we both feel like we want to get more involved with political stuff, and why we started
not to push Christianity.
Yeah.
But to push goodness across the board.
That's our base is, we're starting there, and then, we're open to other ideas and thoughts and all that kind of stuff. But, for me especially, I'm always going to come back to what does God say about it, and I'm going to follow God's instructions for my life. I'm not going to try to force God's instructions on your life, because that's not cool either.
That's why I always say
God is working on me, to help me move forward, and if that helps you, great. If you want to,
if you ever have anybody come tell you that God told them to tell you something, first of all, I don't want to say red flag it, but your ears should perk up and you should listen, because it might be God telling you something, or it might just be a person telling you something. And anything that anybody, any pastor, any church tells you, hey, this is what God said, or this is what the Bible says, you should go verify that with the Bible, with fellowshipping with other Christians outside of that circle.
Especially if you're a new Christian, new believer, just thinking about interest in the religion of Christianity, the faith of Christianity. If you're new to it, don't take everyone's word for it.
No.
Yeah. So verify it and read your Bible for yourself.
Talk to him yourself.
Yeah.
That's the beauty.
Pray to God yourself. I mean,
that's the beauty of God.
God will speak to you, through you, and use you in a specific way for your life. You don't necessarily need someone else to tell you how to do it. No, and as you mature and get older in your faith, and learn to hear God's voice a little more, then things get a little bit easier. But a lot of times our personalities tend to get in the way.
Well, that's one thing. I've had people ask me in the past. Well, how do I start out being a Christian, I gotta lock my chair. I catch myself. I'm like, I'm leaning back and like looking like I'm lazy on TV here. But people ask me like, well, how do I start out this whole Christian thing, this path or walk? And I tell them, I said, it's very simple. I said, because if you go to a church, sometimes church makes it difficult. I said, but it's very simple. I said, because you don't know who Jesus is. You don't know who the Holy Spirit is. You don't know what the Bible is. You don't know what the Word of God means. You don't know what faith means. You don't know what Genesis is, to Ephesians, to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, or anything. I said, just go alone, somewhere that is quiet, somewhere that you're not going to be interrupted. I said, and just talk to God. And if you don't even know that He's called God yet, talk to Him.
God,
Say, hey,
God knows He's God. He knows who you're talking to.
He don't care what you call Him. You know, and that's one thing that always gets me. It's like I have friends. It's like, well, I believe in something, and it's like, okay, then put a name on that something. What do you think that something's called? You know, well, we call Him God. It doesn't matter what your Father, you know, whatever, Jehovah. Yahweh. I've heard of many names. You know, it's different cultures, but it's like
God knows who you're talking to whenever you're calling out to Him.
Just ask Him, but then with that ask, make sure that you're open to receive the answers, because sometimes people want to know and want to ask, but they're not willing to get the answers. They're going to fight those answers. I did it for years, and because I was raised Catholic, a Christian, and I really, my analytical brain really fought against it, because, and I didn't until I met my wife, and she wasn't even a practicing Christian. Like, she was raised Christian too, but we weren't, and it's nothing she did, but she softened a part of my brain and my heart that I didn't have before.
Okay.
And I was able to receive more information in life, or more, it opened me up, I guess would be the word. Her love, knowing that love existed, opened me up to the possibility of people, because before then I hated people. I still kind of don't like people that much. But I used to compare God to people, and that was always my issue. So I would always find flaws in God via people.
That's a big mistake that a lot of people who choose to be atheists, you know, they try to put human attributes to God, where God's not human. No. So when we think that God should be mad or upset about something and He's not, okay, that's us. You know, that's the way we look at it. Yeah, we only see a certain, you know, small part of a situation. So yeah, we try to blame God for stuff that had nothing to do with, you know, that was people. So, but anyway.
So, anyways, are we wrapping up this
topic?
Oh my
goodness, yeah.
We kind of went on about it. Do we want to go into our third one?
Yeah, I think we should.
I don't mind.
And you know, this is going to give everyone kind of an idea of, you know, all the different types of topics that we're willing to talk about and be there. So in future episodes, you know, we'll spend more time on specific things maybe. I don't necessarily want to turn it into Bible study kind of stuff, but
I don't mind questions and answers, and you know, talking
that's,
about God.
That's just so people know that's our basis, is where we're coming from as far as our religious belief system.
We joked around in the beginning of all this, like we really want to try and focus on the three topics you're not supposed to talk about. You know, politics, religion, and money. You know, and that's one thing. Hey, if you're a gold and silver buyer, it's down right now. It's always a good hedge against inflation, because as our dollar devalues, gold and silver increases in value, only because our dollar's worth more, but it's worth the same. So it's always a good bet. Stock market's not doing too good right now, I'll be honest with you. But whatever, gas prices are out of this world. I'll tell you, a great vehicle. If anybody's looking at purchasing a new vehicle, me and my wife just traded in. We had like a 10-year-old vehicle with like 140,000 miles on it, and we purchased a Hyundai Ioniq.
Okay.
And it's a hybrid, and I'm not like a green leaf hippie, but I'll tell you, like, I was a little bit like, the power might be. It's got a cool sports mode that makes you still feel like you're driving a nice car.
Okay.
It averages 50 miles to the gallon.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so I can do 630 miles on a 12-gallon tank.
Wow.
Yeah, right. It's got a battery. It's not plug-in. It's got regenerative brakes. The engine charges the battery. So it's a very normal vehicle. Like, it's nothing crazy about it. Really nice, really comfortable. It seats 5. Like, it's a big hatchback at the back to carry things.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a Hyundai what?
Hyundai Ioniq, 100,000 mile warranty. Maybe Hyundai will sponsor our. But 100,000 mile warranty, 10-year, 100,000 mile. You can pay extra to get 125,000, 12-year warranty.
Wow.
And it's bumper to bumper if you pay that. So I mean, for next 125,000 miles, and that includes the battery, everything. I'm just saying, it's right now. I have a Dodge Journey as well for the kids. It gets 13 miles to the gallon, and it kills me every time I go to the gas
I'll
pump.
betcha.
You know,
Yeah,
then I
compared to
take
that 50
then I
mile.
take it to the Hyundai, and it's like I actually smile. So it brings me a little joy at the gas pump to
Oh,
know.
my goodness.
Yeah, it's great. So anyway, so
Okay.
our next topic. So we like to use local sources for some of our news and articles, I guess, news. I was trying to think of a news and there was no other and for our news, our articles. So if we look over, we've talked about WOKW before. They've actually doing a really amazing job on covering, if you watched our past two episodes, we're doing a summary on this, but covering the issue with, oh, look at, oh no, it's down here. The discussion about the Clearfield County Domestic Relations and the Clearfield County Commissioners. They've been doing a great job covering it. This is kind of our third review over it. We did it our first episode, touched on it our second episode, and now a third episode. So when did you say this was, when did they do this interview?
They just dropped this interview today
All right.
on the radio station, and it'll
So-
be on their website for a week. This week coming.
So if you look, it's WOKW, I think, right, .com up there?
.com,
yeah. And that's our local radio station, 102.9 FM. And if you scroll down on their website here, down at the bottom, it says discussion recording of information regarding Clearfield County domestic relations crisis. So if you click here, it takes you to this recording. It's 29 minutes long, 29 minutes and 7 seconds long. So we're going to play that and then chime in.
Yeah, we'll just kind of respond to it as
We explained what it is. I don't think we said what this is.
Yeah, this is an interview done at the radio station by the I forget the name of the girl that did it. Amanda. I think it mentions it at the
Amanda,
beginning.
yeah, I think so.
But they're interviewing the Rick Redden. He's the chief executive person that runs the domestic relations office for Clearfield County, and the lawyer that is representing the employees there. So we haven't listened to this whole interview yet. This is all fresh and new to us, so we're going to listen to it.
We will try not to pause this very much, but we will chime in once in a while. WOKW, if you happen to have an issue with us playing this, please let us know. I can crop this out or work around you, or if we need permission, then we will ask you after we do it. So thank you.
Yeah, but this is WOKW that did this interview.
This is not us. We are commenting. Actually, I think as a news-based thing, I think it's public information and free to air. I think
so.
because I watch people do it with CNN all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So,
All right, here we go.
well, cool.
Part of WOKW's radio license involves addressing issues that affect or impact our community as a whole. There has been a lot of discussion in the media regarding issues between the Domestic Relations Office in Clearfield County and the Clearfield County Commissioners. OK1029 recently interviewed Rick Redden, Director of Domestic Relations, and Chip Bell, District Court Administrator, to discuss the matter in detail. The Clearfield County Commissioners were asked to also participate independently in their own interview, and they declined the opportunity. You are about to hear the interview between WOKW's Amanda Thompson, Mr. Redden, and Mr. Bell. A copy of this interview will be posted on our website for a period of 1 week beginning tomorrow, Friday, March 18th, through Friday, March 25th, 2022. A copy of all documents referred to by Mr. Redden and Mr. Bell will also be posted on our website, WOKW.com.
I am with the Director of Domestic Relations Office, Rick Redden, and the District Court Administrator, Chip Bell. There's a problem right now with employees in the Domestic Relations Office.
We muted ourselves so you wouldn't hear us in the
I
background.
like how she says, "I'm not." There's a problem right now, and it's like, yep.
Yep, there is.
All right, sorry guys. Like, I just thought that was funny. Okay.
It's a lack of employees. How about you just let our listeners know what exactly does the Domestic Relations Office do?
Well, the Domestic Relations Office is responsible for the establishment and collection of support. And support within our office is defined as child support, spousal support, alimony, and or alimony pendente lite. So what happens is you would file a complaint for support within the Domestic Relations Office. That goes to a conference hearing. The conference officer then establishes an amount of support based upon the Pennsylvania state guidelines. An individual then has the right to file an appeal to that, which would be a de novo hearing. They could take it before the court. Once that is finalized, and
This up real quick. I don't remember hearing it at the beginning, and maybe I did and I just wasn't listening. But they mentioned how they interviewed these two individuals, and then they also asked the commissioners to do a separate interview. So they didn't want a debate. They didn't want it to be just like a response or their side of it. And the Clearfield County commissioners said no.
Yeah.
The-
The commissioners didn't want to do an interview with the radio station in response to
Any
or
of this.
along with the domestic relations office.
Steve, I kind of feel like we should wait outside the courthouse with
a
a
microphone.
camera and a microphone and be like, hey guys, how do you want to respond? Like, what if we broke that in Clearfield County? Get a response. I don't know. We'll talk. We'll talk
We'll
when
have
the
to think
cameras
about
go
that.
down.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Ambush journalism.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I'm a nutbag. I'll do it.
All right, back to the interview.
Sorry, guys.
the judge makes a final decision, becomes an order of court, and you're obligated to abide by the terms of that. The case then refers to our enforcement unit. It flows over. Our enforcement officers are caseworkers / enforcement officers, and they will work through any issues that anyone has in regards to their case. That could be anywhere from the amount, frequencies it's to be paid, who it's to be paid to, how they're to pay it. Those are all handled by our enforcement officers, that battery of questions. If they fail to pay their support, then the enforcement officers are also required then send notices in regards to the non-payment. And it can be as severe as going to jail over not paying. Many times, though, it's a wage garnishment. It can be setting up payment terms as to how they'll pay the support over the course of a month. We currently have 1,647 cases in Clearfield County that we handle. And as you referred to, our lack of staffing, we now have
1,647 cases in Clearfield County. Mm-hmm. What's the population of Clearfield County? Isn't it like 5,000? Or is that Clearfield proper? 50,000.
The county is 80,000.
Or 80?
something. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
That's still
That's still a lot of
1,600
cases, yeah.
That's crazy. And I think he's going to go on to say what their staff is.
Oh yeah, that's basically what Mr. Redden is talking about here. He's basically given a synopsis of what the Domestic Relations Office does, what services they provide to the community, so that people know.
Yeah, because I didn't fully know.
Yeah, domestic relations. I'm like, I don't.
Yeah, I
sure
thought
exactly
it was. I
what
thought
they
it was
do.
child support and alimony. I didn't know there was other ones.
Oh yeah, there's lots of other stuff. So that's what Mr. Redden was just explaining, is what exactly the office does and why they. Now he's going to lead into why they need the staff that they need to do the job. That
And
they
if you
need
want to
do.
apply for their staff, Indeed.com has their listing.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, I was
Oh,
looking.
okay.
Yeah, I checked that out, and I thought it is like $14.50 an hour with a
Yeah.
bachelor's degree. So it's like, oh, they're not lying.
Yeah.
I have one enforcement officer in Clearfield that's responsible for all 1,647 cases.
One resource.
Although the enforcement supervisor is lending a hand right now trying to take care of part of that caseload, we have one enforcement officer in Du Bois. We have no current conference officers to handle the application of guidelines to the cases when they file for support. Our conference supervisor is handling all of those right now.
One person.
And we
Yeah.
have him scheduled 3 conferences per day, 5 days per week through April 1st. I think we've now gotten almost to April 15th with the new filings. So there's a very good chance that if you did file today, it's not going to be until the end of April or the first part of May until you can get into our office
Wow.
for support to be established.
And that's
So
not,
that in a nutshell.
and that's not their fault. Like, we got to realize that that's because they're understaffed, and you have a group of individuals that aren't, from what we're seeing as the public, and I'm not saying that this is the truth. I'm saying this is a perspective from a public individual that isn't involved in the inner circles of our government. The county commissioners aren't doing anything to resolve this problem, where you have judges, you have lawyers, you have the heads of the the facility, the whatever you call it, the
Domestic Relations
the
Office.
office, saying we've not only have problems, we've brought you solutions to those problems. We need some answers, and it's not like, oh, we just need to talk about it. Like, it's literally up to the county commissioners to approve it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the county
What's
commissioners
going
are
on?
the only ones that can do anything about this
right,
issue
they
right
need
now.
to approve that extra
And
funding.
it's 3 guys that are
Right.
that are holding it up.
And it's ridiculous to me that there's not even a Republic response to
Yeah.
this. There is no, they're sitting there saying, we don't owe you an answer. And the only thing they've said is, we're very disappointed that they brought it to the public. You know, the people that pay their salaries.
Mm-hmm.
We're very upset that you let our bosses know.
Yep.
Because that's, my opinion, a lot of people in government don't realize that we're the bosses.
Right.
But as the bosses, we don't ever hold them accountable like we're the bosses.
That's what we're trying to do here.
That's what we're trying to do. And it's like, so that's all I really want.
And the only other answer that the commissioners have given is they're in the middle of
Contract
negotiations with the county employee union, and so they can't do anything, or they can't make any decisions. And I don't buy that.
I don't buy that either, because they could easily say, and even if that's the
Yeah,
case,
just give us a bone.
why can't they
throw us a
say,
bone
like,
here.
oh, we are in discussions, we are talking about that extra money, using it, but it needs to be contracted out, but we are talking about that extra funding. Our goal is A, B, and C.
Basically, the way, to put it in layman's terms, the way that it looks to us is the commissioners are just telling us to just shut up about it until we're done with these contract negotiations.
And then maybe
Well,
we'll look at it.
yeah,
But
and then
that's the
maybe.
perfect time, as
Yeah, it's like,
Redden.
Do it now.
I'm just going to start calling him Redden, because I keep wanting to call him Matt.
that's why I said Mr. Redden.
Yeah, as in how he has said it, it's like, this is the perfect time to talk about using this extra money and changing salaries to make us more competitive,
bring
to
it-
keep
bring it all up
people,
to date.
because
Gee
you are in contracts. This is the time we do need to talk about it, and they're not having meetings with these individuals. They're not having, I don't even care if they go on WOKW to say it, but according to what we've read, they haven't had a sit-down meeting with these individuals to talk about it at all. They haven't even taken step 1 to listen. So how are they doing anything? What are they doing? And if I'm wrong, boy, I'd love for them to tell me how I'm wrong. Or
Yeah.
how all these people, we have our judges, like people that we hold in a pretty high regard. Like, I don't feel like a judge is going to come out on
they're-
a political
he's not
issue
going to jump in the middle of that.
and
unless
say,
it's-
unless it's a serious thing.
Yeah.
And they've come out.
Yeah.
And they've together come out. And in that, I just don't get it. I don't get, and the commissioners are like,
Yeah.
you know, so I'll play this. It irritates me. It just seems like that happens all the time in government. And it always seems to be like,
It's like, keep
the
it hush-hush.
executive
Yeah.
part of government. So like the commissioners are like our president, like it's like the president of our county.
Yeah.
You know, a mayor. It always seems like that's the tactic that was always used by an executive person in government, the head of. It bothers
It's like,
me.
this is,
So,
they say this is what we deal with, in our office, and you people don't need to know about it.
Yeah.
That's basically how we feel about it. I don't know if that's the case, but, if the commissioners want to come out and make a statement,
I tell you, I might go.
other than, what they gave us a couple weeks ago saying we can't talk about it,
Why
if they want to
can't
give
you?
us, if they
And we're
want to
not
give us-
asking for numbers, but even then, even if you're in contract negotiations, why aren't you willing to say what your goal is? You don't need to badmouth the unions or badmouth the other people with, well, we're trying to do this and they're trying to do that. No, just say, hey, our goal is we would like $17 an hour. Because then maybe you have the public support on your side now.
There you go, commissioners.
Maybe you'd have us go fighting for you, and maybe we would change the union side of things if there is a hold up. But you're not even telling us that. What if it's the unions holding things up? Boy, that'd be nice to know, because then maybe these people can go to their union representatives and go, whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah.
We're okay with.
Yeah, maybe there's just some clarification needs to be made, on one side or the other, so that, a decision can be made. That's all we need.
I don't think we're going to make it through this whole thing.
No.
I'll be
Well,
honest.
let's keep going anyway.
Yeah, let's keep going.
That's what we do. We also take care of genetic testing. We do that right here in our office, so if there is an issue in regards to the paternity of the
I
child,
feel like outsourcing.
we'll do it. We'll
I don't think
handle
Rick
that
Redden's
part
in there
of it,
with a beaker
send it off to
doing
the
genetic
genetic
testing.
test lab,
Yeah.
we get the results back, and then of course the orders are entered accordingly after that.
Now, there's qualifications to being employed.
There is. Our conference officers and bachelor are bachelor's degree employees, and so are our enforcement officers. So it does require a bachelor's degree as a minimum to be employed by our office. Now, of course, we do like some prior work in public field, if we can get that. Of course, we're not getting any at all right now, any applications. I think we've had maybe 2 applications in the last few months. So one of them did not have a bachelor's degree. So, of course, they didn't qualify for the basic necessities to have the job.
Are the sound levels good for the?
I think so.
I think so. It looks like.
Here,
on the
let's be
screen
quiet
now.
once.
The other one, when they heard what the salary was,
Yeah.
decided that they weren't.
Yeah, I think so. We're talking about the same levels that he is.
Okay.
It's quieter on our end because our speakers
Okay,
are different.
It
And
just sounds muffled here.
I hope. I think that's just the radio recording.
Okay.
Because this is I've noticed that with some radio stuff. It's not. It seems like I think they're talking like this into a microphone because they use the boom mics.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my opinion. But I wonder why they need a bachelor's degree and what degree? Like, is it just a general? So, like, if I have a bachelor's degree in art, no offense to anybody, say people use that all the time. My wife's an artist, and I love like that's. If I had to be jealous of anything in life, and I'm really not, but I kind of am, is her artist. I can't draw a square. So, but like something that has nothing to do with domestic relations. I wonder if you can have a bachelor's degree in anything.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't seem like they're specifying.
Yeah.
A
they're
bachelor's
not a
degree.
bachelor's degree
So
in
then-
criminology or anything like that.
So then
It's
I
just-
would.
Yeah.
I would like to know then why, because like, I wonder why that has to be a prerequisite. It's like, oh, you just have to be smart. I mean, because I got my bachelor's degree through the University of Phoenix, and it was easy. There was a lot of copy paste. Not that I plagiarized, but like, you could look at the answers. It's online. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I was like, oh, what's going on? And there wasn't even rules like, don't look, you know? So it's like,
That's University of Phoenix.
you didn't
though.
tell me. But it's a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
On paper, it's okay for them.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, and it's like, that's what it's like, not, I just did it. I got a bachelor's in business because I wanted to start my own business, and nothing helped me with that. I swear, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm not a billionaire. I don't know. Maybe that's what they were teaching me, but I had a minor in entrepreneurship and small business. None of it helped me. I swear. Like, and I already had my business running for like 3 years. So I thought like, oh, I'll learn how to really do this. Nope. I don't. There's a lot of essays that I hated doing. But anyways, that's my thing. So maybe the requirements are too high. I don't know their position, and I'm not saying that it isn't needed.
Well, in my mind, I'm thinking, if you want good quality people, you're going to have to pay a better pay rate. And
Period.
obviously, the Office of Domestic Relations doesn't control the pay rate. That comes from the commissioners.
right.
They have to
And
approve
apparently
that.
there's
That's-
negotiations
yeah.
with the unions.
Yeah, and so maybe that's the only standard that they can go by. It's like, well, if you have a college education, then we know we're going to get, some
Yeah, we're going to
relatively
weed out.
quality people.
And I kind of see that,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of people that have work experience, have life experience,
yeah.
that have been dealing with people.
Yeah, but
like
but,
you want to talk.
But they're not going to go work in that type of environment and that stress
for
office
14
for
bucks.
14
I
bucks an hour.
agree.
Nobody's going to.
I agree, and I was just
Even with a
wondering,
high school education,
I was
or-
just wondering if we could. I don't know if like is that the holdup why they're not like I don't know a lot of people that have bachelor's degrees. I'll be honest with you. I only
Bachelor's
have mine.
is-
I only have mine because 4 year. Yeah,
That's 4 years.
4 plus.
What's the 2 year one?
associate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or a certificate. Sometimes they can, but it's like the only reason I have mine is because when I got out of the Marine Corps, they paid my way through college, so I did it online, and they paid it was like $900 a month in my bank account to help me so I could focus on schooling.
Okay.
While
Yeah.
they paid for my schooling, and I was like, well, why not use that, and get my degree? And I did it in 2 years because I already had an associate's in computers. So that's it. But I would never have in my life got a bachelor's degree on my own. There'd been no need for it. And it's like, how many jobs in Clearfield are there? Like, I'd love to look up that statistic that it's like an absolute necessity to have a bachelor's degree.
And that's a whole other topic to talk about maybe someday is like the
College
importance,
degrees,
the
don't get me
over importance
started.
of college degrees nowadays.
You're 18 and you're $100,000 in debt.
Yeah,
What a
yeah.
great system we have. But anyways, okay, we're literally 5 minutes into this. 5. It's like been a half hour already.
Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe we'll do part 2. Like,
No,
not that we want to cut it now. but-
We're in it now.
Okay, we're in it.
we're
Okay, in it to win it.
This isn't just
Sorry.
at the Clearfield County
I
Courthouse. You have
interrupted you.
another office.
We do. It's in Du Bois. That office normally would be staffed with a supervisor for the office, 2 enforcement officers, and a clerical person. So it would be 4 people within that office. We're down to 2 right now. We have our clerical person, and we have an enforcement officer that we.
We went 30 seconds, and I have to say something. We probably can't do this ever again because of how I talk.
Well,
Why
this
do
is
they
an
need 2
important topic.
offices?
Why do we need 2 offices?
It's
Yeah.
Du Bois to Clearfield. It's not Pittsburgh to Clearfield.
Yeah, true.
Rick, I'll be honest with you, and I'm not calling him Rick. I'm talking like if he was here. Maybe they should look at consolidating into one office and save a big chunk of money. Then I think you could probably pay people more. Like, I'm not saying that the commissioners aren't wrong, and I'm not agreeing, but I look at things and I go, why do we really need an office in Du Bois? Now I know there's probably a lot of people in Du Bois that would be commuting, but there's also a lot of people that need to go to court.
Yeah.
And they go to Clearfield County Courthouse in downtown Clearfield. So is it fiscally responsible to have an office housing 4 people in Du Bois when they could drive, literally, it takes me 18 minutes from where I live to get to Du Bois.
Yeah.
If I'm speeding, which I never do because it's illegal, I can get there in 14 minutes. Not that I've timed it purposefully, but it's like, what's an 18-minute drive? And it's not like, I don't know how long these processes take, but to me, it doesn't seem like it would be something, I have to go there 5 times this week. It's not a job. It's not something, it's like if you're in domestic relations, you might have to go to a hearing, you might have to go to an interview, you might have to go to a follow-up, maybe 2, 3. I don't think it's like a daily thing or
Yeah.
an every week thing,
Right.
or it's probably a meeting, I guess.
And
Paperwork
a
fill
lot
out.
of that stuff could maybe even be done over the phone. I
Or
don't know.
online
Yeah.
or something, and it's like, so for me, it's like,
Yeah.
do you
that,
need
that
2
might be
offices?
that might be a little touch point.
And
to
if
consider.
I ever become commissioner, maybe that's something I will bring up.
Yeah.
I'm full of it,
You're-
not understaffing, but I feel like
you're into cutting costs.
right. Well, and I feel like
Unnecessary costs.
the 2 biggest things that any business, and our government is a business, whether you want to call it that or not, but any business, there should be 2 factors that you should be most concerned about: your customers and your employees, and they should be equal in how you the worth, because you can't have one without the other. You can't have customers and not have employees, and you can't have employees without customers. And if those are your 2 major things, not money, not my income, not the owner's income, not my political career, but those 2 things. So the biggest thing we should be looking at is how can we make more income for our employees, and how can we provide a better service for our customers.
Yep. And you say your bachelor's degree at Phoenix University didn't give you.
They didn't teach me that. They're all about numbers. It's like, how can we cut costs?
That's just
and
common sense, isn't it?
Yeah, to me,
Yeah.
it's common sense. And it's like, well, because if your employees are happy, then they're going to relate that into customers. I couldn't imagine the stress that these employees are going through at the domestic relations office. Not only are they dealing with stressful situations already, so their third party, their clients, their customers are bringing in stress, which is understandable, going through some crazy stuff. But then on the back end, where they should be getting fed supervision, guidance, mentorship, all this financial support, they're getting another third party issue, crisis, lack of funding, lack of money, overworked, understaffed, and it's like, and I'm sure if they're that financially irresponsible as a government, I'm sure, like, I own a cleaning business, and I'll tell you one thing: if you don't think a clean office dictates the environment of the office in a sense, like happiness and stuff, go to a dirty one and everybody's mean. I promise you not. It's weird when you have to go and use the bathroom and it looks like everybody else used the bathroom. You're not happy.
No.
You're coming out of there for at least 15, 20 minutes upset, and it's just one of my things. But I don't know. So tangent office.
Tangent.
Do they need to? Sorry, guys.
Moved from Clearfield to Du Bois to minimally handle the duties there. So the supervisor work's being handled by our Clearfield enforcement supervisor, and it's either by telephone or Skype, just trying to stay in touch and make sure that everything's going well.
So you've been quoted in the media. The office is in survival mode. What does that mean?
Well, we clearly are. I mean, we are surviving the best we can. Clearfield County Domestic Relations is very unique in the way that our reimbursement structure is set up. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania oversees all domestic relations operations across the state. There's 67 individual domestic relations offices, one in each county, all under the umbrella of the Department of Human Services. What happens there is they have set up cooperative agreements with each and every county within the state. Every county in the state participates under that cooperative agreement. All allowable expenses associated with the Domestic Relations Office, and that includes salary, fringe benefits, retirement. Right down to buying a pencil, is an allowable expense. Those expenses, every time that we have them, are submitted to the Commonwealth, and they then pay the county back 66% of all those expenses that are submitted.
What a weird number.
There's also a piece to this, which is performance incentives. They've set performance guidelines throughout the state, and every county is responsible under these performance guidelines. And that's for support establishment, collection on arrearages, medical support enforcement, and paternity establishment. Those are the standards that are set. We're required contractually to meet 80% thresholds in all of those categories. Clearfield County, prior to having a much reduced staff, normally ran in the neighborhood of 85 to 87%, which means that in our collections category, of the 100% of the cases, 1,647 cases we had, we collected the full amount every month on at least 85 to 87% of those. And the same held true to all other performance categories, some of those being higher. I mean, paternity establishment, I think we were at 100% or very close to that. Medical enforcement, we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 85%. And collection on arrearages, I think we were at 100%. Which means that you've got to collect some money throughout the course of the year on the case, on the delinquencies. So therefore you reduce your delinquencies and there's various reasons that may occur. People lose their jobs. People just don't pay because they don't want to. Maybe they're injured and can't work. A lot of those factors have to be taken into consideration, but we try to do that as an office and work with each defendant individually based upon their circumstances as to what might be out there.
Now, if you don't reach those benchmarks and you go below that, what could happen?
So my question is, why does the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania have to oversee all of that? Oversee every county has to have an office. I can understand that, but why does each county have to send all this information to the state to prove that they're doing what they're doing and to get a reimbursement from the state? Why is the state involved in all that, or the Commonwealth? Why can't each county manage?
Because they need to spend. Am I on? Yeah, I'm on. Because they need to spend taxpayer money. That's all we do as a government. Like, we just create more and more oversight. Mm-hmm. And oversight has to see oversight to oversee oversight. And if that oversight isn't correct, then we need to have more oversight on that oversight, because if that oversight didn't work on the oversight we put in years ago. And it's ridiculous.
Yes, it's just the constant layer after layer and red tape and more expense. So that's why I'm questioning why is the overall umbrella of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania controlling each county? In county,
right? Because it's not
in county dealings.
The only thing I could see there might be a need for a little bit of state involvement is if there is issues across county lines.
Yeah, but even
husband lives in Clearfield,
yeah,
one lives in Clarion. But even then, it would just be cooperation between departments.
Yeah, I would think these departments
they would probably agree with each other.
From county to county, we looked at the numbers a couple weeks ago of staff in different counties comparative to Clearfield County, and they're all relative, depending on population. So each county department of domestic relations, they're all pretty much the same size.
Unless there's like how they do things. Like there are legalities on how, but even then, that would just be law.
Yeah.
We wouldn't
But-
need
but
an
my
oversight.
point
And
is
what do they
that
do? I wonder.
A county should be able to communicate with another county without getting the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania involved.
We'll have to look into that.
Yeah, that don't.
I gotta
that's just,
sneeze.
That's he's gonna sneeze, but that just adds another layer of complexity to the Department of Domestic Relations. That, to me, it doesn't need to be there.
I agree.
Again, we don't know all the details of why that was established, statewide anyway in the first place. But now that it's there, each county has to deal with that. They have to report to the state. And then the state says, yeah, you can get reimbursement back, or no, you can't get reimbursement back. It's like, that shouldn't be the state's decision to do that.
Well, it's because the county probably can't afford to pay for it. So they need to, so the state, at some point, my guess is that the counties couldn't pay for it individually. So then the state stepped in and said, hey, we'll tax everybody and then disperse it evenly around all the other countries.
Based on your performance, and yeah.
Right, and then
so
the state probably couldn't handle it.
As each county continues to struggle and not meeting the numbers that they need to meet, then they get less and less reimbursement from the state, which compounds the issue even
Right.
more.
Well, and that's how government always does. Well, and I'm sure there's a federal program for all this.
Yeah,
so
there's
I'm
probably
sure the
federal
state
that
probably gets
oversees the
reimbursed 66% off of the federal government because at some point the state couldn't handle it. So now we needed, and it's like, and
because
that's
you
what's
have
wrong.
so much bureaucracy.
Well,
in
we got to
place.
pay for multiple offices.
Yeah, that no-
Why can't the office, the state? So did you hear? This is the stuff that annoys me. Something furious.
I know, that's why I wanted you to pause it.
Is so he stated that there is an office in every county for the state people. The state, not Clearfield County Rick Redden people, but the state representative people for domestic relations. So there is another office in Clearfield County dealing with domestic relations on a state level. Why can't they work in the same building?
Maybe they do. I don't know.
He would have said that, I feel. Oh, they're located at our Du Bois office. I feel like he would have included that.
Maybe that's why there is a Du Bois
I
office.
bet you it's not.
On top.
I
You
don't think he's one of the 4 people. He or she is one of the 4 people. I just bet that there's a separate office for the state person. And it's like, so we're paying and we're paying for it
Yeah.
as taxpayers. I don't care who's writing the check, state, federal, or local, and it's like, so
It's
we're
all
paying
taxpayer
for
money
2
that's getting filtered
offices,
through the
for
system.
2 offices, and they're probably emailing back and forth every day. When they could be sitting beside each other.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind. It's like, well, it's because they're the state, and create a cubicle. Put a sign on a door. I don't care. It's the same as a separate office. You don't
Right.
have to, a separate building doesn't change I don't know. It just, things like that really irk me. Who is it? I don't know if it's our representatives. I think it's our representatives. They have multiple offices.
Yeah.
I hate that. That's like the stupidest. Like there's one in Du Bois, one in Clearfield. There's a couple of them. There's
Why?
2 or 3.
Is there that many people that want to go visit them at their office?
They're never there.
Yeah.
They can't be in 3 places. Meet at Starbucks.
Yeah,
I hate
and
Starbucks.
if they're not there, then they have a secretary there. Or they have somebody there.
I've
Maybe.
opened the door many times and it was locked. I'll be honest, at a couple of them. I don't think they have anybody there.
Oh.
They do have a central one that
They have the
stay
name
at
on the
where
door,
you can call.
but that's it.
But it's like, what do you need that for?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
They have money to spend, so they better spend it.
And I just,
Apparently.
and that's why we need, there should
Ugh.
be a branch of the government that just is fiscally responsible. That is auditing. That is it's just a constant. It's not like, well, we're going to audit this year. No, it should be like an ever-going audit of how we're wasting money. There has been so many times when I think this is what started it in the Marine Corps, where we would get crazy amounts of stuff. They did one time, they were these all in one. It was a camera with a fingerprint reader on top, and then part of the camera was an iris scanner, and it was like this whole big thing. And it was so that we could ID. One of the first things, if you wonder what we did when we first went into Iraq, was ID people. We gave them little cards and printed up IDs and took their biometrics, their facial recognition, retinal scan, fingerprints, and full body picture, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a mission.
To every
person,
every
every
person
citizen
in an
yeah.
area. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so the first round of these cameras that came out, they apparently maybe they didn't test them. I don't know. Stupidity is what occurred. But like in the desert of Iraq, they were not good. They did not hold up. The screens would get scratched, and it's not even like we were like crazy with them, just like normal people, you know. And it's like, so they all failed, and then we had like 18 of them, and I saw the for it was like $1.2 million
Per camera.
No, for all 18
Oh, okay.
of them. But that's $1.2 million. They lasted like a week.
Oh my goodness.
And then they had to then they sent it was like a month later, they had a whole different, it was like a tablet thing and a separate camera, and it's like, so they scratched that. And so we spent, that was just us. Like we weren't.
That was just one unit.
Yeah, we weren't like a big group of people. We were 200 people. Like out of the thousands that are, like how much money did they spend on that kind of stuff? I don't know. It just, that's what irks me. It's like, and that's what we're spending stuff on. If you ever want to look up, Rand Paul used to do it, or Ron Paul used to do it, and I think his son took it over, Rand Paul. But every year he publishes a stupid money, like where the federal government spends stupid money. I forget what it's called, but it's like he shows where millions and millions of dollars. Like I just saw a thing. It was like we spent like $4.2 million last year getting monkeys high.
Yeah.
On marijuana, you know, and it's
just,
like now maybe there's a study there that needs to happen, but it's like $4.2 million. I know some stoners in State College that would probably do it for free. You know, just give them a license to be able to do it. All right, I'm going to play this, and I have to go blow my nose, guys. So I'm going to play this and show you the timer. I'm looking at the wrong screen.
Well, what ultimately could happen is that we could lose the 66% reimbursement, because the 66% reimbursement is based upon meeting those benchmarks. It also reduces the amount in incentive money that we can earn, because those incentives are paid, and that's actually set up on a national scale. And I guess to best explain that, as it was explained to me years ago, was every state within the United States has the potential to earn incentive benefits. Now, you get states that are very underperforming states, and I look at those stats a lot. You find that some of those states get very little incentive money coming in, and it comes into one central location, ours being Harrisburg, Department of Human Services. They then came up with a guideline within the Commonwealth then to have a fair distribution of those funds to the counties to help them run their operations.
Fair distribution.
It's very clear within the cooperative agreement that, and also with the use of incentives memo that was published years ago, that incentive monies can be used for the hiring of and retention of DRS staff to adequately meet the performance standards. That's where we're at with the problem that we have, in my personal opinion. If the commissioners were to agree to give increases in the base salaries of the employees that we have here, we would be able to cover those increases 100%. 66% back through the regular routine reimbursement methods through the federal government. And then they gave us the ability, as you can see posted on your site that you had posted before, the letter from the Commonwealth, that we could use the incentive monies then to cover the county's 34% of those increases, including health care benefits and retirement. So it would cover everything, 100% of the pay increases for the Domestic Relations Office. Get these base pays up,
See,
hopefully.
And so right there, he has a problem and a solution that he can't fully implement. And what bugs me is, so let's give the commissioners benefit of the doubt and say they're in these negotiation talks with the unions saying, hey guys, we have Rick Redden telling us this, this, and this. We want to increase from $14.50. I have a feeling that the unions aren't going to go, no, we don't want an increase in pay for our union.
If the union's doing their job, they should want what's best for the employees.
And it's like, well, and I know one of the concerns that commissioners talked about is like pension retention, or pension retention. I don't think that's what that, but you know, like paying a pension. If we increase a base pay, then that means that their pension's going to be bigger. Now, and I could see that maybe they're afraid that like maybe this money would run out sometime. So we're stuck paying the bill for 30 years until somebody dies, their pension, you know, but your money ran out in 5 years. So, okay, I can understand that. But with that, what if you went to the union and said, hey guys, we're hurting on the pension side of things. That's what's really holding this up. We can increase base pay from 14 up to 18.50 an hour, whatever, huge base pay increase. But let's take, instead of pension being 60% or whatever it is, can we lower it down to 58? You know, because over time, I mean, that would work out. And it's only 2%. Would people be okay with a 2% decrease of their pension? Or maybe it would just be for new employees.
Yeah, from here on out, change
the pension for the new, you know, and it's like under their hiring.
And maybe they're in negotiations.
And maybe they are, but boy, wouldn't it be nice
It'd
if
be
they
nice
could
for
say
them to
their
tell us-
side of it.
Tell us something.
Right. All right. Sorry, guys.
And I can only say hopefully, because until it happens, I can't give you a definitive on it, that more people would then apply because you can make more money to work there. You know, I think over the years, the big thing about county employment is it's secure employment.
Correct.
You know, the county's probably not going to dry up. The jobs are going to be there every day. We all have jobs to do, and people know that, you know, there's not going to be a plant closing and I lose my job. Work for the county, you're probably going to be able to stay there as long as you want to.
Especially human
as long as you
relations.
perform.
There's always going to be problems.
We need to get them in the door and get them hired. We need to get them here.
So that is one way to do that, but you need the commissioner's help for that.
They have to approve it. They ultimately have to approve it.
And you have tried to talk with them about that?
Well, I'll refer that more to Mr. Bell.
This interviewer's doing a good job.
He's the voice of the judge
She's
here.
answering
and
very
the judge
direct
wrote a letter
questions,
to
and
the
she knows
commissioners,
what
and
needs
he
to be
can
said.
answer that.
Well, Mr. Redden started the alarm bells back in July of 2021, July 22nd actually, and wrote a memo to both Judge Ammerman and Judge Cherry raising the alarm. Hey, look, this is coming. I can see it getting worse. Here it comes. We got to do something. In response to that, the judges informally went to the commissioners, let's talk about this. And the commissioners did not want to speak to the judges about it. So as a result of that then, the judges started writing letters to the commissioners, setting forth in more detail the proposals that Rick just made, which cost nothing to Clearfield County taxpayers.
I think I
It
need to
would
go
be
to talk
fully
with these
funded out of
commissioners.
the incentive funds, out of the reimbursement that he's already discussed. A letter was sent January 21st, 2022. Commissioners did not want to talk. A letter was sent February the 9th, 2022. Commissioners did not want to talk. You know, the court has done everything internally that can be done to try and get this issue addressed. And the court set forth clearly the proposals that the court wanted to do, even as far as what the amounts that would be contributed to each employee.
So I wanted to pause there because he said that we have done everything internally that we possibly can do. And that's a lawyer who knows that legally his words are held accountable. So for the county commissioners to sit there and have disgust in their tone when writing public letters to these individuals saying, we wish you wouldn't have taken it public. Well, how many times did you turn down meeting in-house, meeting privately?
Right.
And for what reason? And I want them, that's what I want to go and ask
Yeah,
them. I
we
want to
just-
go take a camera in, and maybe I'll do, maybe it'll be a Dan Mencer thing, not a Clearfield.tv thing. Or maybe it will be. I don't know. We'll see. But, or maybe not even a camera. Maybe I'll just go talk to them and be like,
Yeah, if you just go, I'm sure they're not going to want anything recorded.
well, they're a public official and I'm
I
allowed
know,
to.
but yeah, but you might be able to go talk to them and then report back to
Yeah, maybe-
Clearfield TV. Maybe do that.
Yeah, maybe it's like, I just, why wouldn't you meet with them? Like, why wouldn't you just sit down and say, what are your concerns?
When's the next commissioner meeting? We can look
Oh,
at
we do it publicly.
Oh.
Let's do it. It's not for a couple of weeks, but
it. Well, hopefully they'll get things situated
but
before then. But
we'll take our
that,
camera
that
in
might
and
be an
we'll do it.
option.
Well, it's recorded, so we don't need. That's another thing. You ever
Yeah.
go on the commission's website
they're
and
going
watch an
around.
online
We gotta
meeting?
get this
I
video
know.
done.
I just come on. Our setup's so much better. Than
Oh my
theirs.
goodness, yeah.
Yeah. So,
On zero budget, we have.
yeah. Well, I mean, there was funding beforehand.
Well, I know,
But still, like I can do this with a cell phone.
Yeah, we don't have
Like
a
I could do all this with pretty much a cell phone.
we don't have $1 million budget
No.
like the commissioner.
No, and it's. Anyways.
And
Anyway,
just wanted in the letters, that's not locked in stone. The court wants to talk about it. Let's discuss this issue and that, to which there was no response. So as a result of that, in the last letter, the court indicated that, you know, if we don't get a response, the judges are gonna have to bring this out in the public, which is what is occurring now.
And
You know,
they
the
won.
commissioners
They're gonna go
ultimately
public.
did respond at one point in time that they were in the midst of contract negotiations, and they did not want to talk, and our response, the court's response was, hey, this has nothing to do with negotiations, those are the county's negotiations, but the domestic relations office, it's a snowball going down the hill, and if we don't stop it, it's gonna be expensive for Clearfield County because we're gonna lose the 66% reimbursement, and Clearfield County's gonna have to pay the full cost of domestic relations rather than 34%. So, and that's about where we are right now. Come about July, whenever another staff member retires here, we're about to the point that very quickly thereafter we'll probably go under the 80%. And then Clearfield County taxpayers are gonna have to fund the full operations of the office, not just 1/3 of the operation.
See, that's what happens when you
So
kick
it's simply
the
been an
can down
attempt
the
to try
road.
and discuss it with,
Yeah, and that's, so the commissioners are talking about what added expenses to the taxpayers. It's like, this is a guarantee.
Yeah.
Yours is speculative.
If the commissioner's decision, if the commissioner's indecision continues, it's a guaranteed failure of the system,
Well,
of the domestic relations office.
And we're at a voting time right now. Elections are coming up, and I'm not pointing any fingers, but there is a commissioner that is trying to become a representative, a state representative. And these are the types of situations we need to look at and go, should we give people more power if they're not doing what it seems to be in the best interest? And for me, and I'm not saying he's doing that, but
Right.
his lack of answering to his bosses
Lack of action, yeah.
is very concerning to me. That he doesn't want to be. I agree. You're not allowed to
Well,
talk about negotiation.
the only commissioner that was named by name in any of the public response was,
McCracken,
no,
or no?
Glass.
Yeah, that's why I always
Yeah.
do that. I'm sorry to Mr. Glass. I used to always McCracken's something.
Yeah.
Or somewhere, or
He
used to be.
Used
or
to
something.
be, yeah, years
I
and
don't know
years
why
ago.
I conflate the
you're
two all the
stuck on that,
time.
but,
I don't know why I do that.
So, in my opinion, because our thoughts matter, I I think Mr. Glass is holding this up, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we got to find out.
Just from what I know
I think we gotta
about
find
the
out.
person.
Yeah, I've heard some things too, and it's
Yeah.
not, and it's just there's been
So
multiple things.
I don't want to lay it all at the feet of
I don't.
of Mr. Sobel.
But I'll tell you, if I ever become a commissioner, I'll be that outlier
Oh, yeah?
that has no problem publicly going, hey, what's going on, Mr. Glass or Mr. Sobel or Mr. Scotto? I'm not trying to be public here, but they are our bosses, and they have the right to know.
Yeah.
That might be my campaign slogan.
Yeah.
You have the right to know.
There you go.
Because
There.
that's what it should be.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can understand like clandestine operations by the CIA need to be secret, obviously, but we have the right to know where our taxpayer dollars are going.
Yeah.
We have the right to know what these negotiations are about. We have the
Right.
right to know why you're not responding to a problem and solution. That's what irritates me is that maybe he's just a good public speaker, but it seems like this Rick Redden gentleman has it figured out, along with his lawyer and then
Yeah.
the judges.
Well, they've been dealing with this for years, and
Yeah, and
they've
they've-
seen it coming, so they did all their investigating and research and say, hey, this is what we need to do to
Yeah.
fix the problem.
And for the commissioners to go, about the negotiations, I'm stuck on that because it's like, they're not going to say no if the commissioners come, hey, we want to increase base pay. There's no union in the world that's going to go, no, we don't agree with that.
Right. So yeah, it's just so weird.
no real discussion coming back.
Why is it even a thing?
Now, this first came up with the commissioners in the summer of 2021. They can't talk now because they're in
like a year
negotiations.
ago.
However, when did negotiations begin?
Oh, good
Well,
question.
the original contracts, and all the contracts are coming due at the same time, those fell due last year. There were 1-year extensions with regard to those contracts as granted to the commissioners. And so that got us into this current year for purposes of
The
negotiations.
commissioners asked for
So the
an extension.
negotiations have been ongoing, but what has to be understood is the court is not allowed to negotiate contracts. Only the union and the commissioners are allowed to do that. The court is saying this has nothing to do with those contracts. This has to do with domestic relations office. We're faltering here. We're going to cost money here. We're trying to avoid that. Let's just sit down and talk. We are not trying to influence negotiations or anything like that. The court just wants to talk.
And what happens if a contract's approved, this isn't part of it, but then someone decides maybe this is a good idea? Is that going to have to wait till the next contract?
If the contracts are locked in, some of the employees covered by that are domestic relations employees. They'd be locked into a contract for whatever the term may be. And as a result of that, absent reopening the contracts, we would not be able to do a lot of what is
So it's the
intended here
perfect
through these
time to do
incentives. and
It
this.
has
fees
to
for
be done
reimbursement.
now. Yeah.
So you are correct that
So, and I understand, I guess, to be, err on the side of caution for the commissioners, I could see that their contract negotiations just don't apply to these people. They apply to other county workers.
Right.
So if we raise one, we have to raise the others. But I
Maybe.
feel, and I bet you because government's repetitive, that all the other departments probably have a similar thing. A similar program, they pay 66%, the state and federal, and reallocation of funds and all. I feel like you could probably do that board wide. And especially if you went in, instead of trying to raise I always want to say a gross domestic output, but it's not that. It's our finances of government, our government bill. Why don't we try to cut things? Once again, where do we ever hear anybody in government saying, let's cut spending?
Yeah.
I found a way to cut spending. I hate it. Like, why isn't that a thing? We do that in our day-to-day lives. Do you ever go through your bills and go, do I really need a subscription to Netflix and Hulu and Spotify and, and all these? Maybe I don't really watch Discovery Plus that often. Speaking of which, they're merging with HBO Max. So anyways, off topic. I like both of them, and I pay for both of them. And now they're becoming one, and I only have to pay for one.
Ooh, that's exciting.
But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like there's.
And so these negotiations have been going on for at least a year, and they got a year extension.
Well, the commissioners asked for an extension, which shows me that they weren't doing their job a year ago. They shouldn't have needed an extension.
They couldn't come to an agreement a year ago for whatever reason.
So they're probably still working off of numbers that are pre-pandemic. Well, maybe it was pandemic. There could have been maybe. So we're not going to poo-poo on them that much. But it's so if it's been that long, they're using pre-inflation numbers, pre-gas high tax numbers. All these. It's like things have changed in a year.
Yeah, our living expenses have gone up since then. So, $14 an hour 3 years ago. It still wasn't good, but it's different than what it is today. Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and you look what's going around our country is a lot of places are increasing their base pay just because of what's going on.
Just to keep
And
workers.
So you
It's
can
the same issue
You can
in
go get a
industry.
supervisor
that's true.
position at Sheetz, and there's no college degree needed.
They're starting at what, $15, $16 an
Yeah.
hour? Yeah.
And they have college reimbursement and stuff like that. They have a good benefit package too. I don't think they have retirement, but they might have a match 401k. I feel like Sheetz would do that. I thoroughly enjoy Sheetz, by the way, as a company. Very smart company. You ever notice
Product placement.
They do product placement, and then they take over their own, like, instead of outsource, like in the beginning, they used to have Krispy Kreme donuts. Then they started their own bakery, and they started packaging their own donuts. So that means that they have a higher profit margin on the return of the product they sell.
And they don't care if Krispy Kreme got offended by that.
No, because that's their business.
It's business.
It's business.
Yeah.
But they do pretty decent stuff. Very nice people.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like it. My brother lives beside one of the Mr.
It's
Sheetz's.
amazing how we get off on these tangents. It's crazy.
Welcome
That's
to
what-
Clearfield.tv.
That's what we should have named the channel.
Yeah.
Tangent TV.
Tangent
I think
TV.
that was on our list.
Yeah,
That was on our short list.
basically, once the contracts are entered into, that sort of makes
halfway
things more
through.
difficult to proceed here.
And the incentive money, where has that been
2
going?
hours in.
The incentive money, Rick can probably speak to that, I think is being held in a fund.
Yeah, it's in a bank account. As we earn the incentives, it goes into the bank. And now there
So
are
it's
some
money
other
already
things you can
given?
use the incentive money for. I mean, we purchase a new vehicle. We can use incentive monies to be able to purchase that new vehicle so that it's at no cost to the county. We have tried. We have clearly tried over the years to be able to be as little of a burden to the county as we possibly can.
Wow.
We're
There's a
always
government
offering
worker
those type of
saying
situations.
the right things. Maybe he should run
we
for
have
commissioner.
bought office furniture here. with the use of incentive money.
Rick Redden for president.
But of course, those are also allowable line items, so they're 66% reimbursement to start with. Then we use the 34% to make the county whole for the 100%. So the county taxpayers didn't have to pay for those vehicles.
Loophole,
They didn't
I
have to
like
pay for our
This guy's
office
smart.
equipment, or the computer system that's here is also provided by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, because we're under the statewide computer system, which is operated at
Why the audio
Harrisburg.
quality's a little, it's a mobile.
I don't know.
They're in their
This
office
is just
right
such
now, not at the radio
an
station.
extremely difficult situation for me. It would be different if I was going to the commissioners and asking for something that I couldn't fund. And I'm saying, I understand that taxes are gonna go up and, this is gonna be a major burden to the taxpayers, but, we've gotta do this. That's a completely different argument in my mind. That's not the case here. We're able to do this at no cost to the taxpayers. Additionally, the raises that they're offering right now to the staff would be covered under this, other than having to come out of the county budget. Because the Commonwealth is saying, do what you need to do to get this office back up at 100%. So, just for example, if it was $2 an hour, you're talking about, $1.32 coming back to the county, and we can use the incentives then to pay the remainder. So you're whole again. It costs
But even
nothing.
if we don't have that
Where
incentive
if
funding.
it just goes through this way and they don't pay any attention
What's
to this,
if they're covering 66%, that's not a huge difference. So he's saying $1.32, that leaves what, 58 cents? No, 68 cents, no. 32, 7, 60, 68 cents. So it leaves 68 cents an hour that we as a county is paying. And I feel, I'm going back to printer paper. I feel like printer paper's wasted more on that than that. I feel like people are like, oh, I messed up that copy. How many times does that stuff like that happen? I don't. If that's the argument, 32 cents, and then he's even saying, hey, it's covered under this incentive program. That is money already in the bank. It's not, we have to apply for it and wait.
Right.
Oh, man.
Wow.
It's crazy. It irks
we're
me
not
that this
going
is
to
even
be
an
able to
issue.
use the incentive monies to do it that way. And they're going to be on the hook for the 34%. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot of money, but when you're looking at it in the whole scheme of things, it's a lot of money.
Thanks, Rick.
And then
Countered my.
one more question. You have been using the incentive money here and there for office supplies and all that. If you get to additional monies to salaries, will you still be able to afford all the other stuff you've been using that
Boy,
incentive
she's
money
really
for?
good at asking
I
questions.
truly believe we will, because we're going to be able to maximize our effort, stay above the line, and we're going to make more incentive money. So as we continue to earn incentive
Spend money to
funds,
make money.
we're going to be able to pay all the bills we need to pay and still have enough for the occasional replacement of a vehicle or office furniture or whatever.
And what's being
Rick has a
proposed by the
plan.
court to the commissioners for consideration
His
is,
slogan.
this isn't a one-time shot. This is a continuous shot every year. I know the commissioners are saying with regard to their contract proposals that over the course of the contract, that they would raise salaries, let's say, pick a figure, $4,000 over the course of the 4-year contract. What we're proposing is every year, we can give individuals $4,000. So over the course of the 4 years, that's $20,000 that individual got.
Wow.
And as Rick said, it just replenishes itself. If you're making use and you're meeting those benchmarks, it just replaces itself, and it can go on for quite a while.
And when you said pick a number, one number that's been seen a lot, $14 an hour.
That's what we start at. That's what our enforcement conference officers start at, $14.04 per hour. That's for our bachelor's degree people. For our clerical staff, starting as a Secretary 2 in Clearfield County, it's $10.15 per hour.
Oh my goodness.
That's what they start at.
So you have people coming out of school with student loans, trying to start, $14 an hour. But you're offering a lot more to entice people to want to come in.
We want to. We want to offer more. We want to offer a significant amount more. I mean, we think that, people coming out of college, if jobs are available from where they came from, they would certainly rather come back home other than have to move. You would think that that makes sense. I've heard it lots of times that, I sent my kids away to college just for them to move away because that's the only place they could get a job. It was worth it. We would like to have jobs like that where people can come back if they choose to come back. Of course, if you're making more money, you're spending your money locally because you're living in Clearfield, it seems to benefit everyone.
And that $14 an hour, you have to consider, okay, there's your $14 an hour, but now county employees have to contribute to their health care, which diminishes that amount to some extent. And the proposal being presented by domestic relations in the court is, we'll reimburse for that cost, that extra cost that's on there. It's not going to cost you anything.
So their plan, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, if I heard this incorrect. So Rick Redden's plan here in the office is not only to maybe $2 an hour increase, but also cover the county's expenditure of 4%, and then also cover the 66% because of the funds that'll be matched by the state. But then he's also saying that he has the idea and on paper that he can reimburse the employee for the employee contribution side of their health care. That's ridiculous. That's like getting free health care.
Yeah.
Well, other than maybe like a deductible or something.
Ridiculous in a good way.
Yeah, ridiculous in a good way. Like, why is this not an issue? I think Mr. Rick Redden needs to come to a commissioner meeting with us. And I think we have 3 new commissioners standing up there talking.
Exactly.
That's what I think.
Yeah.
Rick and Dan and Steve for commissioner, huh?
But so, okay, let's think about the commissioners in the contract negotiations with the employee union, county
Right.
employee union. Who's holding this up right now?
And if it's the union,
If the union knows what Mr. Redden just said,
they'd probably be for it.
union would jump on that like now.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
so-
unless they have a plan for something better, but I feel like
Yeah.
if they had a plan for something better, I feel like Rick Redden and the lawyer would have already known about that.
they're. I'm sure.
Because I'm
they're-
sure they're
yeah,
part of a
they're
union.
in communications.
They're
with,
part of that union.
Yeah, the
wouldn't
union's
they
going
be?
to ask the employees
What do you want?
and their supervisors what they want. Yeah, and then unions go to the county commissioners and say, hey, this is what we want to see happen for our employees.
What can we do?
Yeah, and then the commissioners are like, nah.
Yeah, for what
That's
reason?
basically what we see.
Yeah, and so what's holding it up? That's what, like, is it, maybe it's another office. Maybe the sheriff department, I don't know who the other offices
What?
are under. Is there another office that's saying, hey,
Well,
we
here's
want-
what's going to happen. Either the commissioners are going to have to separate out the Office of Domestic Relations and make this happen for them, or they're going to lose that office.
What's going down?
Yeah.
They said we're at a point,
Yeah.
they said maybe in
So
July.
they have to separate that either out of the overall contract negotiations and make a special agreement for them, even if it's just temporary, just to keep them through the next budget year. Or they're going to have, what's going to happen is these other offices and supervisors and all these other county offices are going to start coming to the commissioners and say, we're in the same situation the domestic relations
probably
office
are.
is. You need to do something. So the pressure's going to continue to ratchet up on these commissioners until they make
Yeah,
a
but we only have
decision.
about a year left with these commissioners. So do you think they're going to drag their feet long enough to where it's not their problem? Can they?
What does that say about their character?
I mean, I'm
Exactly.
just saying, are they? They already did it for a year.
I
Now,
know.
there might have been COVID and good reasons and stuff, so I'm not, but it's like, if they let this go out for a year, which they don't seem like they're rushing to do
Yeah,
it.
it seems like they're dragging their feet for some
the
reason.
Contract negotiation, when they gave that response about the contract negotiation, I was like, well, maybe that just started. You know, maybe they
Yeah, I
literally
thought maybe
last
they.
month.
Yeah, maybe they start beginning of the year.
No,
and
it's
then
been a year. It's been a
it's
year.
been over a year.
Yeah, over a
They've
year
had
that they've been
a year-
in contract
a year
negotiations.
extensions.
I'll tell you, there's been nothing I've ever done in my life involving a negotiation of any sort that took me longer than a couple of days.
Right.
I
Yeah.
just because it's either makes sense or it doesn't make
If
sense.
you have to work that hard to come to an agreement,
There's
like,
a problem.
Yeah.
Somebody's a problem there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because if you're completely ridiculous with your request, then I'm going to go, you're completely ridiculous with your request,
Yeah.
and I'm going to walk away till you bring me something new.
Right.
And then you're going to be incentivized to give me something new. And it's like,
and you know, again, given the commissioners, you know, credit, because we just don't know. You know, maybe the union came to them with some ridiculous
See,
request.
I've never heard of that happening,
And
though.
the
Usually
commissioners are
unions,
like, "No, we can't."
usually unions that have been established understand
They're worth
where
their
the
salt
wiggle
at all.
room. They understand, you know, they have lawyers, they have financial representatives that go, hey, you know, the federal standard for increase is 1.2%, you know, but we are a small retirement community, so we probably aren't going to get the 1.2% pay rate increase. Let's go to 0.9, and, you know, maybe we'll be negotiated down to 0.7. And it's like, so like from
Yeah,
every
the art
time.
of negotiation is you start with, you know,
Yeah.
throwaway stuff, and then you work your way down. But that should not take over a year.
And that's what I'm saying. What's holding it up? Unless, like I said, maybe there is a COVID thing, but I don't understand. We've Skyped and we remote and we can,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like
emails don't.
we've had like the Grammys
don't-
during COVID,
yeah.
so it's like I feel like we can do
Yep, emails don't pass the COVID virus
Right?
along.
Yeah, I know. So, anyways, we only got a few minutes left, Steve.
So
All
in
right.
summation,
In
what do you
summation.
hope to get? What do you
Big
want
word.
from the commissioners?
I,
Talk.
I would like for them to sit down, take a look at the proposal that we've got before them and say, you know what, let's do the right thing here. Let's
I like Mr.
try
Redden.
to get wages. And I understand
good voice.
that all offices are different within the county. You know, our funding sources are very unique.
We need to have a meeting with Mr.
And maybe the most unique in the county with the way it's set up. With what the Commonwealth's offering at this point, and of course, as long as the incentive structure remains as it is, which I don't see any ending of it in anytime soon, it works. Pennsylvania leads the nation in child support collections. I mean, obviously,
Wow.
they've got it right.
Go for you,
And
Pennsylvania.
it's all through the way that they've developed this over the
We're just
years,
bad at
and the
stuff.
incentive structure being involved in that. You know, if we could get decent wages paid to these folks, and it's one office you don't have to worry about. You know, it's one place you don't have to worry. I know Chip has some plans, Chip and the judge, for the probation office too. They've got some other funding sources that are available out there. I mean,
Chip is the lawyer.
this isn't
Right.
unique just to domestic relations. I think there's some other departments that are out there that have ways to be able to do things similar to this.
That's what I just
I'm only
said.
talking for me though. I'm down 7 employees. I'm trying to find a way to
7 employees. That's
get my staff
crazy.
back up. But I mean, like I said, you know, if I was going to them without any money, saying, "Please help me," that's one situation, and I understand, you know, and it would be, we don't have the money to be able to help you, but I'm going with the money and saying, all I need is your approval to be able to use this and to be able to do what I need to do. At least give me a chance. Give me a chance.
And one thing,
And this gives them extra.
he didn't mention it here, but I remember in one of the letters or articles about, I think he mentioned where he can skip the contract negotiations and do like a sign-on bonus through this incentive program. Like offer a $2,000 sign-on bonus or some crazy thing like that after you've worked for a year, half now, half later. Places do that, you know? And it's like, so I feel like I'd have to go back through, so don't quote me on this, but I feel like that was a thing. And it's like, but they still need the commissioner's approval
Yeah, they have to
do
sign
that.
off on it. Yep.
And they might, but it might not be a need for a contract negotiation thing. So I mean, even that is kind of a workaround. But I think that is a momentary workaround because people aren't going to want to stay in a job for $14 an hour.
Right.
You know, I can't get over, if anybody should be outraged, it should be these secretaries, these
Yeah,
clerical
10
staff
bucks
for
an
10
hour.
bucks an hour. That stress they have to deal with?
Goodness.
Jeez Louise.
And I mentioned earlier, I like Mr. Redden. He's so calm.
Yep.
I mean, in the situation he's in and the stress he's under, he's trying to protect these employees and, you know, bring in, you know, good quality employees.
But he's also respectful to our county government.
Yep.
About being conservative with our finances.
He's very level-headed and calm, and he knows his stuff, and that's impressive. I like
It is very
I like it.
impressive. I wonder if it just takes that type of special person to work in an office like he does, dealing with stress all
That's
day.
probably why he's in the position he's in.
man, I
Yeah.
could never.
No.
So I'd like to meet him someday just
Yeah,
to
well,
see.
might have him on here someday, huh?
Wrong mouse. Okay, here we go.
For money
Couple minutes.
that then they could put to use for other departments because they aren't paying some of this money that they normally pay. So it creates a fund of money for them to use.
The only thing I'd like to add is, I just think we need to get competitive in the job market here. We've been told many, many times that if you work for the county, you're never going to make any money. You're never going to be able to make the money that you would make out there. Why does it have to be like that? Why does it have to be like that? I know that I'm in a position right now, and we were told one time, we've had people leave to go to work for the Department of Human Services here in Clearfield, the Department of Public Welfare. And we've been told that we'd never be able to meet their pays, the pays that they pay there. Well, I can tell you right now from where I sit and looking at the numbers that are before me, yes, we can. We can be very competitive with what they pay. There are a lot of people, and I have a lot of people that I talk to on a daily basis in Harrisburg from the Department of Public Welfare that know that the further east that you get, a lot of their domestic relations sections make more money than the people that work in the Department of Public Welfare offices there. And those people are constantly applying for jobs in the domestic relations office. That's the perfect situation. We work together hand in hand with the Department of Public Welfare. I would love to have some of those people work for me. The experience that they bring in, the side that they know of this thing, would be instrumental to us growing. But we're going to have to pay them at least what they're making in order to be able to do that. We're in public service. Nobody's getting rich here. Nobody's going to be a millionaire. I get that. And nobody's looking to be either. That's why we chose these fields.
What a serving field.
It's more to help
What a servant
people.
heart.
And I just really hurts me that I know that our clients are going to be hurt by this. They're the ones that are going to suffer. And they're the ones that probably need our services more than anybody. And probably don't have the ability, or the resources to be able to seek those at other places. People that are very, very rich, most of them don't use our office. I get it. They have the money to hire attorneys. Yeah. They have the money to litigate their situations out. And it's the people that don't have those resources are the ones
The people that don't have a voice. They don't have any. They feel like they
what
don't have any power.
What happens when they can't feed their kids, when they can't pay their rent, when they can't pay their car payments? Mm-hmm. What happens? What happens? Who's responsible? Ultimately it's going to be Rick Redden that gets blamed for it. Ultimately that's it. And I understand that. It comes with the territory. I'm the director, and I should be able to find a way to remedy this. I'm trying to find a way to remedy it. And we just need some help. All we need is some cooperation and some agreements to make this work. And if they're willing to do that, we can make this work. I've got it. I've got it figured out. And the Commonwealth is willing to work with us for us to succeed. Don't hold us back. Let us go. Let us make this work.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
me.
Thank you.
This public affairs programming has been provided to you by Raymark Broadcasting Company Incorporated, WOKW 102.9 FM, Kerwinsville. We thank the Domestic Relations Office for their time in this interview and the Clearfield County Commissioners for acknowledging their opportunity to participate. The opinions expressed during this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management and staff at WOKW. Visit our website, WOKW.com, through March 25th to replay this interview.
All right, guys, there we go. So
Wow.
that was a really good interview. Every person in that interview, I was very impressed with.
Yeah.
I think the interviewer,
Good job.
Amanda, I believe her name was, excellent. The questions she asked. If you didn't come up with those, Amanda, and they were handed to you, you still did a wonderful job.
Yep.
If you came up with them yourself there, that's pretty impressive. And then Rick and then his lawyer Chip there, they just seem to have the answers for all those questions. Like I said,
This is exactly why the commissioners didn't want this to go public, because they know they're outplayed on
right.
this.
Well, there's no reason why. Like, they could have all this solved, right? As easy as this, and maybe I'm giving the commissioners a bone here, but it's like they could come out publicly and go, hey, we agree with you. We're looking into this. we are in the contract negotiations, and this is a part of it. And everybody would be like,
Everybody,
oh, okay.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Until it's done, and then we realize either you lied or you were. But
Uh-huh.
it's like, but we can't be in those negotiations, so there you go. At least you got your cover.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully that's what you're doing. But why can't you come out and say,
Yeah, just
meet with them, and hey, if we know about it, obviously they know about it now.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they don't need the meeting to talk about it. But I mean, I would probably want numbers. Like if I was the commissioners, I would want to see, well, what do you mean? Like, okay, if we do raise $2 an hour, we have 7 employees, that increases, $4,000 a year for 7 employees is $28,000. Where are we getting $28,000? That's a $40,000 impact on our pension. Where are we getting $40,000? Well, we have this bank account from incentives that we've been saving up, and there's 1.2 million in there. I don't know. I'm just throwing numbers out, guys. But it's like, well, that'll cover it for 8 years. Okay. Well, now we have it covered for 8 years. Is that good enough? Is that acceptable? But that's without any new incentives. But it's been going on for 30 years, so why won't it? I don't know. I'm just ranting about it because it just makes no sense to me why the commissioners refused to make any statement. They work for the public.
Right. Yeah, the commissioners need to do something, and hopefully programs like Clearfield TV, and we're not always going to be on this subject. I mean, this
No.
just happens to be happening
It just
right
happens
now,
to be,
so-
yeah. Our
and
first
it's-
4
and it's
episodes have
important.
been, yeah. And
Yeah.
it is important
But
topic.
maybe channels like ours and WOKW,
Can't daily.
letting the public know what's going on. WOKW hasn't picked sides. We haven't really picked sides either, other than we know.
Well, we're picking the side that we're getting information from.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
all we can
We know
really
about.
do.
I don't know. Okay, he's got to go answer
One
the
second,
door.
guys.
So, you okay? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to be closing up here pretty soon, but we just wanted to share that interview with you guys. Again, it's on WOKW.com on their website. You can scroll through, just click on the words there. There's no button to click. Click on the words. You can listen to it yourself without our commentary. It's only about a half an hour video, so it's not really that long. We made it a lot longer than it needed to be. But I think it's important to bring these topics out into the public realm and talk about them. I mean, it's uncomfortable and it's icky, stuff
Oh,
that
it
we
is.
that,
We don't. Well, and it's kind of bringing a sore light to Clearfield County a
mic
little
on?
bit. Yeah, or domestic relations, or and it's tough to sit there. I'm sure it's hard for Rick to say, "Hey, I'm failing. My office is failing. My clients are failing."
I liked how he said that. He knows he's the point person. And it's on his shoulders to provide these services for the community and his employees there, and he feels frustrated that he's not getting the answers he needs from the commissioners. So
Right.
Hopefully these kind of things will help. Share this video with everyone on your social media stuff.
Put that pressure out there.
Yeah, put the pressure on. I mean, that's what we're here for as a community. I mean, the commissioners are in charge. They're the managers of the county, but they work for us.
They do.
And they need to be reminded of that sometimes. And so YouTube, subscribe, Facebook, like and follow. Where else are we at? Rumble right now. We're not getting too much traffic on Rumble yet, but if you haven't checked out Rumble, it's a pretty cool platform too. And we'll be adding platforms as we move forward with this Clearfield.tv. Go to our website. It is Clearfield.tv. That is the website, and we've got some stuff on there that'll be updating soon. Anything else we want to talk about there,
Yeah,
bud?
I think we're good.
Yeah, we're looking for sponsors, and so if you're interested in what we're doing and want to help us along the way, please reach out to us.
Yeah, and if you don't want to be a financial sponsor, there's always, we can't guarantee anything, but if you want to participate, help out behind the scenes, or ideas, or
we've got lots of big plans.
partnerships,
We haven't
whatever.
even let
Yeah.
everybody know what some of our plans are yet, so I don't even know if we know what our plans are.
Yeah, I know. But get a hold of us. There's a lot of opportunity
Right.
if you want to get involved and you don't know how, but you like the flavor that we're scooping out. Feel free to come talk to us.
Yeah. How do you guys like our green screen, by the way? This is,
I wish I could show them the green screen.
it's just green
Looks like
material.
you're touching nothing.
I know, it looks like a touch. But that's all digital back there.
Wait, I might be able to.
It's not a banner hanging behind us. That's what's really cool.
Let me see here. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm on the wrong mouse again.
behind
Here we
the
go.
scenes.
Here we go, guys. Behind the scenes at Clearfield.tv. We're literally behind a green screen.
Yeah,
Isn't this
and
cool?
you can see the ceiling lights through the.
Yeah, but
through
watch.
the green.
But we have lights. We have like studio lights.
Uh-huh.
Let me pull one in here without knocking everything down, so we can see here. Look, see, we have like studio lights with umbrellas, like we're professionals.
Yeah, like we know what we're doing or something.
Yeah, and it gets rid of, like when we turn them on, it gets rid of those the ceiling lights, and when we go back to Clearfield TV, it looks like we just phase into something cool. I love it. I think the technology is pretty cool how we're able to do it. It's literally a green piece of fabric.
Uh-huh. And I designed that logo, by the way, just so you know.
That's what he's
Biographics,
able to do, biographics.
getingearmarketing.com. So.
Yeah. All right, guys.
All right,
He also
thank
did
you.
the intro. So
Share.
have a good day, and like, share, subscribe as always. Oh, if I have to go on to media here. Preview.
Where thoughts matter.
Where thoughts matter. Get my mouse. This is what live TV is all about, guys.
Uh-huh.
So
See
here
you
we-
next week.
See you guys.